listening to the Bomb Hole.
Bomb Hole Podcast.
It's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
The Bomb Hole.
We're gonna slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right, big day here at the Bomb Hole, which is presented by Pub Beer. Before we get into it, always got to ask, Stony Buds, how are we doing today?
So good, my dog.
Whew, good flow. That one flowed nicely. To my left, we have Robin Van Gin in the studio today. Robin, how you doing?
So good, my dog.
I like hers better.
Hers is pretty nice.
For our listeners that don't know who Robin is, I just want to let you guys know it's going to be a great episode. And she is a multi-dimensional human that is elevating snowboarding to ridiculous heights. She is 2-time Video Part of the Year winner. She is the destroyer of everything in the backcountry. She won the entire Natural Selection Tour, people. She's true to her core values. She stands up for what she believes in. She's a movie producer, a backcountry tail guide, which will be fun to talk about, a ripping surfer. Overall, she's living a very righteous life. So excited to pick Robin's brain today. It's an honor and treat to have you in the booth, Robin. So I kind of want to start this thing off a little bit differently. So I was thinking about changing gears here. Instead of normally starting the way we do, you know, I think it'd be cool to talk about guiding. So it's like for a lot of people, they know you from video parts and the natural selection and things like that. But many don't know that you're a backcountry tail guide. So first of all, what is a tail guide and what drove you to become a guide?
Yeah. So a tail guide is basically, we work with another guide, a lead guide, to take people out in the backcountry, whether it's heli, cat, which is what I do predominantly, splitboarding. However you guide people into the backcountry, I'm like the support team. I'm like in the back holding it down. So that's what a tail guide is. And I got into guiding pretty early. It was actually like it was a job, you know, and it was kind of just a evolution of, I don't know, just being in Whistler and trying to figure out what to do and what felt good. I started off as an ATV guide in the summer, and then I moved into being a snowmobile guide. And then I spent some years in Argentina doing freestyle coaching, but we ended up going in the backcountry to do that. So over time, with the evolution of that particular program, we became guides. And so I kind of started guiding down there. So, and then I spent a whopping total of 12 summers down there. And kind of along that same, like alongside of that, I had been on my first trip to Baldface and didn't really know what like the Canadian guiding situation was like. I'd only really done it in South America where the rules and regulations are completely different. And so kind of going to Baldface and seeing how they operated was a really big light bulb for me. I was like, holy shit, these guys are like pros. Like people do this as like a full career. And like snowboarding was always, you know, great for me, but I wasn't like killing it, you know, like the cheddar biscuits weren't aplenty. So I was, looking for other work always, and guiding just like came up for me. It was a great way for me to snowboard and make money. So I started doing that. So, and then I started working at Baldface after Jeff kind of recruited me on my first trip to Baldface. So
What are the certifications and stuff that go into guiding?
It depends on what kind of guide you are and where you want to go. So and it is a little bit complex, and it differs for everywhere. You know, the United States is very different from Canada, so is Europe. Everybody's got different standards, regulations, courses. But in Canada, to be a tail guide, you have to do what's called Operations 1, which is like a 2-week course, and it's kind of the intro to like professional guiding. And you need to have 80-hour wilderness first aid, which is another 2-week thing. And then from there, you can tail guide. And then from that point, there's like the CAA certifications, and then there's like your guiding certifications. So there's the CSGA, which is the Canadian Ski Guide Association, and then there's the ACMG, which is more globally recognized. So there's kind of like snow safety and science, and then guiding, and they both kind of go like this. And actually navigating how to become a lead guide can be really confusing. But I think at this point, I figured it out. I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. So
Incredible stuff.
I think down in Argentina, you can it's pretty loose. Compared, you go up to Canada, it's just like, they're serious. Down in Argentina, it's like anything kind of goes. And
yeah.
So that was probably a wake-up call. And I'm guessing the tail guide is for like the people that are kind of straggling and need extra help. You're like pushing them along, making sure.
Not necessarily. No. Tail guide's basically like a support for the lead guide. And at least in Argentina, we had lead guides open zones, and then we were taking people on our own. So at some points I was leading.
Oh, okay.
Whereas to do that in Canada is a whole other ballgame. And so, but the tail guide is not really to pick up stragglers, but really just to make sure that we're like keeping this like tight, cohesive crew. And we're also providing beta. So when the lead guide's dealing with like the whole group as a whole, we're possibly digging pits and getting like beta from a zone that we want to go to and like communicating that with all the other guides on the guiding team. So it's really about like really gathering beta, having somebody else to support. And yeah, you do end up picking people up sometimes.
That's cool. That sounds like a fun job.
It's really fun. Yeah. And people are always like, oh, don't you want to go first? I'm like, yeah, I really do. And I'm like working on that right now. Currently kind of in the middle of it. But also going last is amazing because you can kind of go where nobody else went. You're standing at the top, kind of like waiting for everybody to be down for them to give you the call. Like, okay, we got everybody. And then you're like, okay, so everybody went here. And I'm just going to go like slightly over here. So you always
still get an awesome run in.
And then you got an audience too, so you can kind of bust.
That's probably almost better in a way.
Yeah.
We got a guest question from Jeff Pensiero. Here we go.
Hey there, Robin. Jeff here calling you from snowy Nelson. Looking forward to getting some more fun days in this winter. I have a guiding question for you. Out of all the shit you carry in your pack, what do you think is the most unnecessary piece of equipment that you have yet to use in necessity? Really interested to know. Every guide has a different piece of useless crap in their backpack that they've never needed before. Can't wait to hear what yours is.
Wow, that's actually a pretty hard question. Like stuff that you don't need.
But yet you're supposed to bring it every time, I think, right? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I've whittled down my pack quite a bit. It's usually like I take out all the things that you're like, not all the things. I take out some things. I guess when they ask you to have like multiples of, say, like a sling, I take those out. I do have one, maybe two, but I don't think that's the most useless thing. I'm trying to think. That's like
you know what? It's non-tangible. I got an answer for you. Bad attitude.
Yeah, there you go. Doesn't have to be physical, right?
Non-physical. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like love Jeff. He's been such a great friend and mentor for me. And he's really like opened a lot of doors. And I can honestly say I don't think I would be where I am today without Jeff's like love and support over the years. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a champion. Well, he talked about what you don't need in your pack. I think it's important for people listening that are wondering, what should I have in my pack? Like, what's the most important items in the pack when you're heading out in the mountains?
Yeah, but you definitely need, the essentials. Like, you need a knife. And you need some like paracord, and you need a little bit of duct tape and some zap straps and, beacon shovel probe. I always have a snow saw with me. I have a little snow safety or snow like science kit. And that's pretty small too. It's about that big, but it has like the essentials to kind of like, dig a pit and effectively do that and get everything you need. So, yeah.
Earlier off air, you had a very insightful answer where you mentioned a non-tangible item you need to bring with you.
Yeah, so the most important item is knowledge and skills, because to me, it's not about what's the most important thing in your backpack. It's avoiding the situation altogether and being able to recognize, when that could potentially happen, and when you're learning and you have some skills and you're doing your research and you're showing up prepared, you can avoid it. It can be avoided. So I would say the avoiding is the most important. So knowledge and skills most important for sure.
Last thing before we change gears, though, really powerful quote, like, Buffery hammers on that you mentioned earlier, too. I think it'd be cool to touch on.
Yeah. So John Buffery, who is another like amazing mentor for me. I love him so much. Just ran for mayor of Nelson, but he's our mayor. He's great. He was actually Craig Kelly's personal guide, and just a all-round really good icon in avalanche safety and in guiding in general. And he always says slow is fast. And to me, it's not just applied in avalanche training or in the mountains. It's like in life in general. Just being able to kind of be a little bit more intentional about what you're doing, not trying to do everything, which I'm like slowly learning to do. But it's a hard horse to get off of for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, slow is fast.
Makes sense so much in those panic situations too, when you're like, okay, shit's hitting the fan. Oh, let's slow down. Let's be present. Let's hone in. But I love the day-to-day application, because I think we can all relate to heading out of the house and you're all disheveled and you forget your keys and you're trying to move quickly, but you inversely end up forgetting all your stuff. So I think that's a good life lesson.
Even in the office too, you make panic decisions too fast. If you just slow down and do it right, you're going to get a better result.
And I'm like really guilty of not living by that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying.
Yeah, it's something you got to think about on.
Yeah, I think for most of my life and snowboard career, I've been like just, more is more. And you're like, okay, yes, I can do that. Yeah, I can do this. And you're like piling on piling on piling. And like it just, it definitely caught up to me. Especially in the last couple years where I just kind of went like, whoa, like what is going on here? And so like moving into this season, I've kind of had this like, I guess just a visual cue of like what I want it to be like. And instead of having like, like a bushfire, I want to like gather all the embers and make like a bonfire, and like having that like focusing the fire somewhere or whatever it is you're focused on. But kind of like not trying to do everything, but really just like, what's important to you right now? Okay, like what do you want out of your season or what do you want out of your day or whatever it is? But like really just taking that and like trying to, put energy towards like one thing instead of just spreading yourself across. Yeah.
Wise words. Just read a book in regards to that semi-recently on minimalism. Can't remember the name of the book, but the main theme of the book is the disciplined pursuit of less but better. Kind of aligns with what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. And like really, like I've seen it in my snowboarding. Like if you're just trying like to do it all, like you just can't. You just can't. And like really, I've seen my snowboarding suffer because I'm just like I'm here and I'm there and I'm doing this thing, I'm doing that thing, and like. Part of me is like, oh, no, it's totally okay to snowboard like this for now. But like, there is an element of like ego involved. You want to like be proud of what you've done. And like, I think I would like to focus back on snowboarding and not trying to do like 10 different projects and just do like one and like focus on that and like get that like pride back,
We have a guest question from Leanne Pelosi. In regards to what we're talking about, we're going to get right into it. Here we go.
Hey, Robin. This is your pal, Leanne. I just wanted to say that I am so impressed with your career. I think you've done so much for snowboarding, and you always continually push yourself, and you work really, really hard. And I'm so inspired by you. And I just wanted to ask you, how do you deal with burnout? I know you had a lot on your plate last winter, and you have a hard time saying no to things. So just want to kind of get into your head a little bit about how you manage everything. How do you manage to do it all?
Oh man, Leanne, she's so nice. Thank you for saying that. It was really nice. and talk about like I've done so much. Like Leanne's done it all, and I would not. She's another one of those people. I would not be here without the love and support of Leanne. Yeah, she's given me a lot of opportunities. So I'll shout out for her. Yeah, burnout. Yeah, it's definitely real. I feel like especially I want to say like it really kind of started mounting me like saying yes to everything in that COVID year. Went from, like 3 months of doing nothing and like, departing from one of my biggest sponsors I had for 13 years and having 3 months to do nothing but like surf and chill with Austin. And then kind of going like, okay, like it's a bit of a turning point, I'm like, okay, I've got to get some new sponsors and like, what do I want? How do I want to show up? And I just kind of like, the fire was lit and I was like, okay, I just got to like go for it. This is like a really important year to like, almost like prove yourself or just like stay relevant and like kind of say like, I'm still here. And of course we had like significant quarantines in Canada. So every time I traveled, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks and I had bitten off a project, kind of like a personal passion project that I had been working on and started that the year before. And then it was kind of moving into the second year of that. So it's like, like turn up the volume on that like quite a bit and managing that and then having like natural selection. And then, oh, well, am I still trying to film? Yeah, sure, I'll still try and film. And it seems like from the outside, like it was this amazing year, you completed this project and wow, what natural selection. And it was honestly one of the worst seasons I've ever had on a personal level. There was a lot of highs, like so many highs, but also like really, really deep lows, and I don't ever want to feel like that again. Yeah. And it kind of just kept going. It was like, okay, like, oh, the season's done. And then I was like, boom, turn around straight into post-production and working on that. And we were, fairly underfunded for the size of the project, working with 21 different people and trying to manage that and the music. And I was wearing a lot of hats at the time to try and like just keep up and get the project finished. And on top of that, I like sold my house and then got another one. And like, it was just like so much. And I actually felt like I remember calling like a doctor friend of mine and just being like, can you die of stress? Is that possible?
What was the answer?
The answer is indirectly no. Indirectly, yes. Yeah,
because of what it does to you, huh?
Yeah, and I actually developed a pretty, like over that 2 years, I developed insomnia. I just wasn't sleeping because I couldn't rest my brain. And it almost like created this like really shitty pattern of like your brain's just like always on and you go to bed and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so tired. And then your brain's just like, ding, oh yeah, this thing. And it was like quite awful. Yeah, it was like, I hated it. And I loved the year and I was like, a lot of major accomplishments for me, like huge. And I should have been like on top of the world. I should have felt like super tall and I didn't. I felt like crushed, absolutely crushed. So yeah, the wearing of hats just caught up to me big time. And I'm still feeling the burnout. I'm like just starting to have the cloud like slowly move, like the mist move away slowly, but it's there, and I'm finding ways to like, like I was talking about earlier, instead of the bushfire, like trying to make a bonfire and like, what's important to me? And like, how do I move forward? Just like doing what's important. So yeah. And Leanne's been there too. We've both done like quite like a lot of production and yeah, it's a lot. I think there's a lot of expectation too from brands. You feel like I gotta like do this film and I gotta do more and how do I become indispensable? But I think at the end of the day, it can be not worth it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Couple things there. Well, first of all, I'm wondering, are you getting better at saying no?
Yeah, I am. I said no to 3 things.
Good.
3 things this month.
3 things in 1 month.
3 things in 1 month.
Something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And then, it's an interesting thing. You're talking about the brands putting expectation on you. But in reality, I think the brands sometimes don't put that much expectation on riders. The riders or ourselves put that expectation. Like, how much of that is the brands and how much is that is a story conjured up in your head?
No, you're totally right. It's 100% like the experience I've had in snowboarding, and what I feel like I have to do. And in reality, you don't. You don't. But I think I like working hard. I enjoy working hard and like being proud of what I've done. And I like showing up for brands when, they give me so much. Like every day I feel so lucky to have the life that I do and have the support that I do and being able to just go snowboarding when maybe I should just be doing that, instead of like doing all these other things to feel like I just want to be a part of it,
Some FOMO going on too, huh?
Seriously.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk about one of our sponsors.
Yes, we are, Chris. For this winter, we're partnering with a travel brand, DB, designed in Scandinavia, built for the journey. DB products feature the hookup system, meaning you can carry your board bag, wheelie bag, and backpack with a single hand.
Yeah, these bags are phenomenal. They also feature rib cage technology, ensuring all your gear is protected. DB is the brand for award-winning snow travel gear backed by Sage Kotzeberg, Kevin Backstrom, Estelle Pensiero, and Gimbal God loves that rib cage technology for all his camera gear. So to find out more, follow them on IG at DB Journey.
Or go to www.dbjourney.com and sign up for the DB Black membership to be the first to know where their new Sage Kotzenberg line is going to drop this winter.
And they got a special deal going. Best hooked up luggage ride this winter wins a full Sage Kotzenberg edition travel collection. You're going to be kitted out with the newest DB gear. Again, check out dbjourney.com and their Instagram at dbjourney. Well, I love that conversation. Let's run it back to the early years when that bushfire was just getting sparked, if you will.
The old bushfire, huh?
Yeah, the old when that just kind of sharpening your teeth, figuring out like where are you from, how'd you find snowboarding, and how'd you fall in love with it?
I'm from Vancouver Island, I'm from a little place called Victoria. It used to be quaint. It's the capital of British Columbia. And there are no mountains. There are none. So I actually came to snowboarding pretty late. I was 16. Actually, I had a snowboarding experience when I was about I think 12, but it was terrible. Like somebody gave me this airwalk snowboard and with the bindings, and I was just didn't have the right size boots. I couldn't go downhill. And I was skiing at the time with my family in a resort called Silver Star, which is in Vernon. And yeah, somebody's brother had one and they were like, you should try it. And I was like, cool, put on his boots. They were huge. And the snowboard was huge. And I got to the top of this run. And of course it's all moguls. And they're like, okay, go. I sat on the snowboard and basically just tried to get to the bottom. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good on that. But when I was 16, I had, that was kind of when the culture was kind of gaining traction, in a more mainstream space. And I just thought it was so cool. I read snowboard magazines before I even went snowboarding. I would watch videos, and then my sister got a snowboard, one of those K2 clickers, step in, and I borrowed it, and I went, and I did the 3 days. I was like, I have to learn this, and I went for 3 days, and it was fun, but it was also terrible. I was just going so fast, trying to keep up, but wasn't, and I was just tumbling, literally tomahawking down the mountain, trying to go fast and keep up with everybody, and I just didn't know how to snowboard. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of felt good. And there's very few things in life where you're just oh, I have to do this. This is what I'm doing now. And it was very clear. You know, it was like that internal compass or the voice or whatever it is was just like, this is what you're doing now. So don't worry about everything else. And I just went like ham. I dropped everything, moved to Whistler, lived in an apartment with like 3 other women. It was like a, bachelor with 2 queen beds that came down, and we just like made it happen. I was like wrapping burritos and, started ATV guiding. Tried to sneak into Camp of Champs a bunch of times. And, but I really started to to get going. I think when I moved to Calgary was when it became a little bit like less of a scratch. I was like scratching around trying to like have enough money to go in Whistler, and that whole scene was like incredible. Like just seeing all the riders you saw in videos in real life, and I was like making them burritos. Like, oh my God, it's JF Pelchat, and I would like, and my nickname was Burrito Girl, and they had no idea. I was just like the biggest fan, and people would come in after like a day of sledding and filming, and you could tell because they had like all their stuff with them, and I was just like such a fan.
Burrito Girl.
So when you moved to Calgary, did you sleep in a van or something like that? What's the story with
It's a cold place to be living in a van.
Yeah, no, I lived in a van for a year. But I chose to do that. I had a place in Calgary, like a house with friends while I was going to university, and COP was right there. So that was like my thing. Like that was my schedule, I'd like schedule all my classes in the morning and like do all of that, go do homework, and then like hit COP. And it was like the best scene, It was like when Jed Anderson was like Grammy Forum kid, and Dustin Craven, we called him the king of COP. Just like a
Maybe
shitty.
still is. Maybe
Craven
still
was
is.
the king of COP. That's dope.
Yeah, like the king of COP. And he would just cruise around with like a posse, just like so full of himself, like I'm the best. And we were like, oh, yeah, you kind of are the best.
It's just -40. People are just chucking roast out there.
Totally. Yeah. And it was like, doesn't matter what the weather's doing there. It's such a cool spot. And like not enough people know about it. It's rad. Calgary's a cool place for like stomping grounds and snowboarding. I think that's why so many good Albertans snowboarders.
A lot of Berta rippers. I was watching the TGR video you're in, and I wrote down a quote, something about along the lines of like something you struggled with was blocking out the normalities of getting married, getting a house, and getting a job was difficult, but you had to accept that that was the life you chose. I kind of want to hear you elaborate on that.
Yeah. Okay. This is like deep.
Yeah, that's a
going
good one.
deep.
That's a good one right there.
I think, I grew up in a very like, I want to say like a quintessential family. I got to do all the sports, at least a quintessential white family in Victoria. I had every opportunity, and, I was afforded to have an education and go to university, and those opportunities were all there for me. And I think, I don't know if it's generational, but at least like the confines of like what's normal felt like go to school, become a professional, and I intended on becoming like a dentist or something because my dad's a dentist and I admired him so much, still do. Great guy. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. I was like,
Pops has got an air horn.
Yeah, he's awesome. And that was like inspiring to me, just the life that he built, him and my mom. She was a professor. And so I had professionals as parents. Yeah, Jerry Van G, and I call her the Hurricane Jerry.
Hurricane Jerry.
She's a wild redhead. Yeah. And feminist. Great woman. Taught me everything I know. But yeah, so I just felt like, you've been given this amazing opportunity to have whatever life you choose. And for me, choosing an alternative life wasn't exactly like, people weren't like, wow, way to go, you're a snowboard bum. They were like, so you're still snowboarding? So are you still doing that? And being able to, I used to at the beginning just be like, oh yeah, actually, in university, and there's some great marketing opportunities, and you kind of like butter it up, and then really at some point you're just like, this is what I chose and this is what I love and this is what I want to do. So I'm doing this and I'm going to do it my way. And, you know, making it as a professional snowboarder still seems so crazy to me. Like it was really hard, but it was so worth it. It felt like regular career development. You know, like the same amount of time and effort is put into that as it would be put into like becoming a dentist. And like, it's just what I wanted to do in the end. You know, I'm like, where do I want to end up? I want to end up like doing a method somewhere. Right. So, but it is hard to kind of get past that and like reply to people without seeming like you're trying to make it like something else. You just have to be like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing now. And there are still moments where I still catch myself like trying to make it more professional, but less and less because I like that shitty part of me. You know, not that it's shitty. It's like shitty in a good way, you know, like the kind of just the alternative culture. I loved everything about it. And like the way the gifts that it's given me, like I've traveled the world. I've met my best friends. I've met some of my best mentors and teachers. Like, holy shit, it's been so incredible. Like, wow. I like never even imagined it could be this, but it can. And I feel like you can apply that to anything, you know?
So good. I never think about, so we're so deeply embedded in this snowboard culture that I actually don't really find myself thinking about the abnormality of it. And I have recently, in some experiences, kind of realized that a lot of maybe older people maybe look down on, or, you know, I'm 35 years old and I still skateboard and I still ride a snowboard. And there's people, I'll just be totally transparent. I'm like, I've been single for a little while and I've been on some dating apps and you're talking to some women and stuff. And they're like, you still do that? Like, you're just a big kid. And it's like, it's condescending. But inversely, the thing I've also realized is I'm like, yeah, I still am a kid. And being a kid is fucking dope.
Yeah.
You know, like we still, we go fuck around and like I think we age less. I think we age less because we're still just kids, as opposed to like you grow up, you have a family, you have kids, you go to your job you hate, and you do that thing, which respect if that's what you're into. But a lot of times I see people the same age, I'm like, damn, you're looking old, dog.
Yeah. Yes. No, like you're so right. I feel like sometimes the way people talk to you, you're like, oh, okay. You don't really think this is a thing, but like, it's amazing. Like, look at what you've done. You know, you've had this like super long career and now this like incredibly successful podcast.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah. Which like we should be celebrating, you know, that style of living. Like, it's great for people who are wondering if they should or should not. Should. Big time. Whatever you want to do. But like, don't be committed to that life that seems normal or like that people expect. You know, there's so much you can do. Like, just being creative and like with the way you want to live and just like doing that. Like, it's incredible what people do for a living now. And I'm like, whenever people are condescending, I always like, you know, it still feels weird. You're like, oh, that's sad. But at the same time, you're like, well, how's your life?
Well, that's why they're giving you a little grief, you know. Yeah. And they'll look at Chris and they'll be like, "There's no way. How can he get paid? It's not a job. They have no idea, you know."
Yeah, it absolutely is a job.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what we're doing? We're snapping necks and cashing checks over here.
And in their minds, you're not cashing any checks. There's no way.
You're still living in the mom's furnace in the basement.
Well,
you're still
if you
a basement.
tell people you're doing a podcast too, they're just
totally.
Like,
yeah, you and every other person.
That's a fun hobby. Like,
yeah.
They don't understand there's business to all these things.
Yeah, and I do want to recognize that it's not as easy or as accessible for everybody. Obviously, I had a really great safety net. And I think we're always like, yeah, you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. But I think, you know, for some people, the reality isn't necessarily that. They have dependents and they support their families, and it's a different thing. And I personally had the privilege of having that safety net so I could take risks with my life to be like, okay, yeah, I think I'll just not use my university degree and I'll just be a snowboard bum and see if I can make money doing that. Mm-hmm. You know, And like, that's great, but I understand that that's not exactly available to everybody. And I do think it's important to like recognize that too.
I'm going to kind of just add on to that. And while we're talking about it too, because I also think about like chasing your dream, thinking about your dream. If you want to snowboard and you want to snowboard a lot, being a professional maybe isn't the best route. Like, you know, there's a famous Craig Kelly quote that's like, my highest appreciation goes out to the rider that's simply out there to enjoy the experience. And oftentimes filming, competing, all these types of things can actually take away from your experience. If you're riding contests, you might be taking like 2-3 runs a day.
Yeah.
Whereas if you grow up and you figure out a way to support yourself and make money, and then you prioritize just the act of snowboarding, that ain't a bad way to do it either.
No,
you know?
it's like arguably the best way to do that.
Totally.
Yeah, you get to ride
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah, it kind of sounds funny because you're like, oh yeah, I was doing so much and I'm experiencing burnout. People are probably like, oh, boo hoo, you know, like boo hoo in your life, you know. I'm like, I get it, like, you know, I understand. Yeah, okay, cool. So there is that, but I do think like just doing it however you want to do it. Like you don't actually need to be pro. And I think we have all these like rules in snowboarding. And to me, I've been thinking about that a lot. I'm like, fuck the rules. Like, whoever you want to enjoy the mountains, like, go do it. I don't care if you're snow skating. I don't care if you're with the blades.
Ski blades?
Ski blades.
Not that great in
That's
powder.
the thing.
And, you know, if you want to grab Tindy, fine.
Oh, we're greenlighting Tindy.
Dude, I was looking back at some old videos.
Greenlighting Tindy over
He
here.
seems-
Old
he seems
snowboard
concerned.
videos.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Tindy grabbing that people don't talk about.
There's a lot of Tindy grabbing.
Yeah,
There
back
is
in the day.
a very big, vague, unwritten law book of snowboarding that exists, and and Tindy's high on the list
High on the
of a
list.
no-go. But Robin's saying green light.
I'm saying, I don't know if I'm going to do it
Dude,
because
I-
I'm not like style, like a Blake Paul style, you know, like I don't make it look that good. Like I think if he
Does he pull a
started
good
doing,
Tindy? Does he do Tindies?
No.
I don't
Oh, okay.
know, but if he did,
You're all, I
people
don't
would
know.
probably start doing it.
He looks good.
I think you could
Yeah,
bring
'cause
it
he
back.
looked good.
You start going intentionally Tindy, like, and you just own it.
Yeah,
I
I
think
want
we
to see
put
like
it
a
back
few
in rotation.
Yeah, I want to see a few of the core lords like whip out some like no grab zone.
grabs
like
and make him look
clips.
dope.
What about boot?
Yeah.
How are we feeling about grabbing boot?
Hey,
That's a kind of a
yeah.
No fly zone?
Tindy. I don't know what's better, Tindy or boot. I was seeing an old vid though, Craig Kelly grabbing Tindy.
Yeah, but
owning
boot
it.
isn't actually grabbing your snowboard.
Yeah, you're not grabbing your board.
You're grabbing your boot.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
it's a really good.
At
point.
least Tindy, you've grabbed your snowboard.
the thing about Tindy, it's so easy to grab.
It is, that's
It's
what I
right
learned.
there.
I remember when
Yeah.
my first grab, I was
Yeah,
till I
that's
learned
why
that was
people are
that
doing
was
it,
my
right?
go-to.
Oh, and you thought it was so dope until somebody was like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, okay, no."
That's why it's not cool. It's too easy.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like, if you want to grab Tindy, you should.
Just grab what you're gonna grab.
he's not sharing. Chris is not sharing. He's
Chris
like, I
is
don't
not
think
giving the Tindy a hall pass.
No.
I'm not as open-minded in the Tindy department, but I can
Hey,
respect
if
your
I
mantra.
can see someone doing good, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that looks all right.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
show me that Tindy, I
Yeah,
guess.
you got to make it look good.
Show me that Tindy.
It's a bit of a cop out if you're just doing it to do it. If you don't want to try for the other grabs.
yeah.
All right, along the lines of talking about kind of the unwritten rules of what's cool and what's not in snowboarding, like obviously Tindy boot grabs are in this unwritten rule book of things that aren't cool, that nobody really like knows. It's just kind of grandfather, dad. I don't know how it all works. It's very mythical. But there's also kind of unwritten rules in the acceptable way to do a snowboard career. Like you have to do this, you have to compete, or you have to film a video part, and if you don't film a video part, your career doesn't matter. What are your thoughts on unconventional ways of being a pro snowboarder as it pertains to no rules?
I think that the unconventional ways have been like picking up some momentum. And I think it used to be like, before I even started, kind of when I was just getting into it, it was like contests and filming and this and that, Then it kind of went like, okay, well, you can just be in the backcountry if you want to, which was like insane for me. I was like, wait, I can just do this one thing, because I was kind of like jibbing a little bit and park a little bit, and then getting a phone call from Amber Stackhouse and her just being like, if you just want to be a backcountry rider, that's fine. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I can just, wow. It was like I could really hone in on what I really wanted to do. And it was a really good opportunity. And I think that that's kind of like, that it's happened like a lot. You know, you look at somebody like Alex Yoder, and he like made a whole career. Like, he's a really sick snowboarder, but he was most well known for his amazing turn. You know, the fact that like you don't have to compete or you don't have to even really film that much. Like, and to me, he's like an icon. You know, I'm like, Alex Yoder, yes, like he's amazing. And you don't even have to. I think there's also like, oh, you got to be the best. Well, actually, you don't have to be the best. Yeah, you can go medium. You can totally go medium, and that's okay too, because like it's relatable. You know, you can go, and I actually love this like resurgence of the shitty part of snowboarding. I think I was, you know, I did really want to talk about that, because to me that's like a really good place to go, because it used to be like, okay, we're going to film a video part and there's going to be sleds and helis, and you got to get your heli stuff, and then you got to get like a little bit of freestyle, and then you got to have a little bit of pillows, and then like a couple of lines. And that's like the formula, you know, at least for me, that was my formula. But I think times are just like changing, and I've really appreciated seeing a lot more resort shredding, you know, and it kind of brings it back. Like, and if you go back and you watch like all these old snowboard videos, I mean, that's all they were doing. I mean, there was this like incredible heli moment where there was like, you know, no budgets, just like bop, 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 around Alaska, and that's a whole different time. But there was a lot of like chewed up landings, and like, you know, like everything, it was like imperfect. It was like a bit shitty, you know, and I keep saying shitty, but I mean like shitty in a good way. Like, I love that, you know, snowboarding's a little bit shitty. Kind of just like alternative culture is what I'm kind of getting at. And then not having it be so polished, you know, like all these, like for a long time, it was all about like the perfect landing and like that beautiful shot. And like, here we are in this helicopter, and here we are, you know, it's like, really, like, it's not real. And we shouldn't really, well, not that we should, I shouldn't say we shouldn't be doing that anymore. It's like, I don't want to do that as much anymore. You know, like, I kind of like more recently seeing like, you know, saying like Foyer or what else did I watch the other day? But anyway, it was like, there was like tons, like a super chewed up landing, and like it wasn't perfect, and it was just kind of like, it was great. And like last year I was in Nelson, and kind of like we went off the resort and like found some like hit. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, why are we so like, you need a sled and you need to do this? It's like, there's so many ways that you can access the backcountry and do what we need to do without like having this like perfect, pristine snowboard view. You know, it's like so polished. So I'm really loving the like unpolished part of snowboarding that's like kind of back. And I think it always existed in street, but in backcountry, it kind of left for a while. And now it's like making its way back. So I'm loving that.
I think the good thing you said was relatable.
Yeah.
And brands, they don't really care as long as you're selling product. And if you're doing well, you're going to be a pro, and you're going to get paid, and you're going to keep getting paid if you're that guy that's selling the product. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And like kind of going back, I kind of digressed from that question pretty far, but there's so many different facets in snowboarding. You know, it used to be like, oh, do everything. And now it's like, oh, you could be this, you could be that. You could be just doing street. You could be just doing contests. You could be like just doing turns. You know, there's like something for everybody. And you can really like focus in on one of those and just like make it your own. Or like, you know, the Scott Stevens, like the mini shred, like that's like his thing. And like, he's the mini shred god, you know, like that's really cool. And then there's like, you know, say like the Travis, who's like, you know, he's the big mountain, like the guy, you know? And it's just kind of cool to see different people doing different things and making money doing it. Yeah.
It's really cool. And kind of to add to that in some ways too, I get a little frustrated too. I probably sound like I'm repeating myself in the show, but every little fragmented section, the mini shredders and the backcountry interior people and the contest people, they all kind of hate on the other little genres, but it's like, it's all good. They're actually complimenting your snowboarding. Like by this person mini shredding, it's making the giant cheese wedge sick. And like they it's like a great ecosystem. I wish we could view it as like we kind of need all these little nuggets of ecosystems to kind of survive and have something for everybody.
Yeah, I think you're like nailing it. I feel like there's a lot of like, oh yeah, I don't like the way they do that, or like, oh, they're not even doing, like a proper jump. The cheese wedge isn't big enough, or doesn't have enough blocks, or whatever. And you're like, well, who cares?
In my day,
Yeah, totally.
in my day,
Sometimes
comes
they get
out.
jealous because they had to go huge and someone's going small and making a lot of money. They're like, wait a minute.
Probably
Yeah,
comes
but it
from-
looks good.
Yeah.
This is funny because I have this conversation with Austin all the time, and not to like bring him into the conversation, but he's always like, oh, I want to do like this 1080. And like last year was like, I really want to do this 1080. I really want to do this 1080. And I was like, why? You look so good doing a frontside 3. And just like pillow popping, or just, he makes the mountain look like a playground, and to me, that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see people like just having fun on the mountain, and like, it just looks good. Like when I see him do a 1080, I'm like, honestly, I love that back 5 you did, and I loved that contest they used to do where it was like the 3-5-7 contest at COP. I don't know I think it was pretty unknown. So
First time hearing about it.
Yeah, first time.
anyway.
Sounds great though.
But they used to have this contest because now you watching the Olympics and watching, the progression in competitive snowboarding, which is insane. And it's hard. And maybe I'm just, old head, as they say, but I can't follow what the guys are doing. I'm like, I don't know what that was. And that was like too fast. I'm like, how many spins was that? I'm like, was it switch? Was it regular? Like, I'm just lost, but I love it when somebody can do like a super styly, like back 7 or back 3, or like, they do like a crippler or something. I'm just like, to me, I'd way rather see somebody do that with style than do like an extra 5 spins on the end, So, yeah, I don't know.
An extra 5
Couldn't
spins.
agree more. Well, let's change gears back to when you first started filming, because I'd like to hear about how you got into the game, film and video parts.
Oh yeah. Well, I do have Leanne to thank for that. Yeah. Big shout out to her and Runway Films. So Jeff Keenan also. Yeah. I actually I was obviously snowboarding in Calgary and kind of like in the scene, and I had been to Super Park before, and I kind of had my intro at that point. I met kind of everybody there. Susie Floros was working for the mag, and Pat Bridges. I had Jeff Patterson, who was the park builder, and I had been riding Lake Louise, living in my van for that year that I lived in my van. So I was living at Lake Louise, and Super Park came to Lake Louise. And Jeff Patterson was the park builder at the time, and it was the best park that Lake Louise ever had. Like, it was world class. Like, the jumps were perfect, everything was perfect.
This is a bit ago too, right?
Oh yeah, I think it was like Super Park 9.
Yeah, like
the big
2004
bomb drop,
maybe.
Big bomb drop off of something.
Yeah.
That's the
He
one
had
with
the
the
cover.
scaffolding or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, you know who that was? That was Dom Pelosi. Not the bomb drop, but I think he did like a backside one on that huge hip, and it was a cover. It was the cover of the
That
Super Park issue.
Park was insane with the coolest backdrops
It
too.
was so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they did 2 there. I think they did 9 and 10, or was it 10 and 11?
2 in a row, huh?
Yeah, 2 in a row. But so I met Pat, and then I went. Susie was checking me in, and she's like, "Oh, we're doing this thing called Miss Super Park," and I was just like, honestly, I couldn't believe I was there and like seeing all of these like pros who I was just like such a fan, So just being there was really cool. Then I went to Miss Super Park, and I kind of got to meet all the women, which was really awesome because I was a big fan of Mischief and As If, and like seeing all those women like in the video, and then I was with them at Miss Super Park, and it was just a totally surreal time for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm here. I made it. That's all I wanted. I can die now. And then, so I met a few of the women there, and then I think the next year Leanne started Runway, And this is like kind of a chance scenario. Leanne and I had like met a couple times. She was doing this thing called MGD Snowboard Camp. And a lot of the women pros were like coaching at it. And so I met her there. And I always kind of like heard about her, but I didn't know her that well. Again, just a fan at the time. And then, so we had snowboarded together a couple times. And then she was doing runway. And I guess there was a trip with Tara Dakitis and Jana, I think it was Jana Mayan or Amflor Marksar, one of the two, and Leanne to Golden. And Golden was kind of where I was like, it's an hour from Lake Louise. And that's kind of where I was like basing out of that winter and like driving back to Calgary and working at my like bar job. I was serving tables and bartending kind of like through college. And she called me and was like, yeah, Jana Mayan like bailed on this trip. Do you think you could come? I was like on the phone and I was like trying to play it cool. Like, oh my God, okay. Like just paused for a second. I was like, oh my God. Okay. I was like, yeah, I can totally come. You know, like didn't even think about it. And then she was like, okay, well, we're coming in like 3 days. And I was like, whoa, like this is huge, you know? I could not believe it. I was like, one, I'm going to meet Tara Dakitis and Christy Shalou, who I was like, again, such a fan. I was just like a fangirl. And then I was going to be able to go snowboarding and possibly film. Like, it just seemed like crazy. Anyway, I called my job and I was basically like, I'm not coming in. And they were like, if you don't come in, you don't have a job. And I was like, cool. And I just was like, that's it. Like, this is it. This is like the turning point for me. Like, if this is what I really want, you kind of have to take those like big opportunities. And it felt like one of those ones where you're like, this is it. And that was my first published photo in Trans World. It was in an article called Golden Girls. And I went and filmed with Leanne and Tara for 2 weeks. And then I ended up just kind of hitting it off with both of them. Leanne went on another filming trip and Tara just invited me to come in her RV with her dog Buddy and go film in Whistler. And like
Unreal.
And I could not believe my life. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. Like, imagine going from like a nobody to like being in the passenger seat of Tara Dakitis' RV and just like shooting the shit with somebody you've looked up to for your entire career. You're just like, oh my God. Like, and so we were in Whistler. I went filming a little bit with them, but it was just like a really cool experience. And I think I had like a shot or two in the credits, or maybe it was like the friends section. But to me, I didn't really care. I was just like happy to be a part of it. You know, I was just like over the moon to have like any sort of presence, to have my name next to all these amazing snowboarders. And the next year I got invited back to film, and that was kind of like, that was it.
And you were sleeping and living in the RV with her and her dog?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I guess in Golden, I was at my own place and had my own van.
Just when you went to the west.
Yeah. We went to Whistler. We camped at the Riverside campground, and she took me out sledding, and they were like so patient with me because I was just like chucking. You know,
just
I was
giving
like,
it everything you got.
Fully. I was like, this is my moment. I gotta send it. Like, just this is like, go for it. You know, and I was just. But in my own defense, I wasn't like chucking, but I was definitely like trying to go bigger than I had before, and like really like focusing on like, okay, get the grab, then land on your feet. And, you know, there weren't a lot of lands, but they were so supportive. It was like incredible to have that. I never had that before. I never had like this group of women just be like, oh my God, sick, go back up and try it again. I was like, what? This hasn't been my experience. It's been like, yeah, we don't really want you to make like a hole in the jump. So
let's pull you off this jump here for a little bit.
Yeah. Do you mind if we go like 10 times first?
And then you can go.
And you're like, yeah, no, totally cool. Totally cool. Like, you guys
hot
go.
tubs out there, and then you get your time to shine.
Yeah, and then you're just like trying to land in like a fully bomb hold landing.
And that does happen to people too. That's a sad thing. These are
Laughing
real
'cause it's
experiences.
Unfortunately, experiences that happen.
Yeah. So that's kind of like that like breaking onto the scene moment. Yeah.
Love that. Couple things. First of all, I think talking about the learning curve of getting the backcountry is important, maybe.
Yeah.
How was that? I mean, you kind of just described it.
Well, it didn't exactly I did describe it there, but like it didn't necessarily end there.
You were like, oh, I got this all figured out.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. And there's other things like trying to figure out sledding. Like sledding was hard, and especially now, like the sleds are really good. You can pretty much like hit the gas and just be like, brap, like up anything, you know. But like back then, it was like the bumblebee, you know, like
The
600.
bumblebee.
The boat.
Yeah, the boat. I had a 600, and it was like a hand-me-down from like an ex-boyfriend, and you know, I was just trying like every day, like, oh, please don't break down, please don't break down. I just got to get to the zone, you know.
You got to fully jump over to the side to get her to turn around.
It's hard when you don't know how to do it. You're like, oh my god. But yeah, the learning curve, it's hard. It takes time for sure. It's all about like tries, and I actually got the nickname Robahawk one year. Robahawk, because I was just tomahawking all season. I was just trying and trying and trying, and like there were some lands that was like not a terrible year for me actually.
Your head was touching the snow more than your board.
For sure. Oh yeah. And I ended my season with the most epic tomahawk, but it was after I landed like this cliff I wanted to do. It was like pretty big, you know, and I was like, all right, I think I could do it. It was like the biggest cliff I ever hit, like in that year. And then I rode away from it, but I was so afraid of like falling on the ride out that I just went straight and like gaining speed, and then just like this catastrophic tomahawk at the very end, and I like sprained my ankle, and that was it.
No.
But that was at the end of the season, and I got some good ones that year.
You went out on top.
Yeah, top for sure. It was a good year, but yeah, it's a lot of falling, but like, isn't that kind of fun? Like failing is so good, you know. Like it's good to fail because like when you start to actually get it, it feels so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing like it.
Who dubbed the name Robahawk?
I want to say my friend Amanda Morant.
Friends, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good friend.
Yeah.
Comes up with
Good
that.
friend coming up with that name.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of Amanda, Leanne, and I think Hannah was there too that season. But I was mainly riding with Leanne, I think, that year. But.
Did you ever have experience in riding backcountry? I feel like the early days you're kind of like, wow, I landed. I can't believe it.
Oh, yeah.
And then
That
as
look of
you
surprise.
get a little bit more into it, you're like, kind of expect to land. Did you feel that transition?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it, but I that brings to mind this like clip that I got. It was like I was snowboarding with Hannah. We were filming in Silverton, and we hit like this jump on Red Mountain Pass, and I did a back 7, and I landed like perfect and just rode away. And I had never landed one before, like outside of the park, and even then it was like pretty uncommon for me to actually get it around and like right away clean. And the look on my face was just pure shock. My mouth was open. I was like I couldn't believe it. And then I had to like review the clip to be like, was that actually what I did? Like I'm not really sure. And then like, you know, I was just so shocked. Like I couldn't. It was an accident.
That's so good.
Yeah, accidental. And I do feel like at some point I was like, all right, yep, I'm going to do this like front 3. It's going to be first tee. And then, you know, when you don't get it, you're like, oh, but you just keep trying.
Well, you mentioned Hannah. We have a guest question from none other than Hannah Beeman. Here we go.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Robin. This is Hannah. I have a question for Robin. I am wondering if she could tell us about any crazy travel stories, whether that's flying or crossing the border or anywhere she's been in this crazy big world. I know she's got some fun stories she can tell us. Thanks. Hope you guys have a great time. Bye.
Hannah, such an amazing human. Also, so much love and support from Hannah. Yeah. Big fan.
Me too.
Yeah.
Us too.
She didn't say hi to me. So
I was going to say, she said Chris and Robin.
I thought we were tight, but I'm over here kind of like, all right,
I kind of did catch that.
I think
Hannah,
we're gonna need to revisit.
Upset.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to revisit that.
Maybe like a disgruntled phone call at like 2 a.m, like at the bar. You know, that'd be a good time to handle that.
That's
Maybe
probably
you
when
can
I
use
will do it.
Use the phone a friend option.
I'm definitely offended, Hannah.
Yeah. What was the question?
It was
I don't think
wild
it matters,
travel,
actually.
travel stories.
She didn't say hi.
I know why she's asking this because I was at her house the other night burning pizza, and we had like stories about like losing your passport. And I recently had a hilarious like passport losing thing on my very first Arc'teryx trip. But we were talking about this other time where it's always like I'm late for a flight. I'm actually in the wrong place. And then I dropped my passport down the elevator shaft.
On international?
Yeah. Yeah, at LAX. I mean, there's so many good travel stories.
So random.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. Probably not gonna get that back.
Oh no, it's literally that moment where so I go to the TSA, and this may not be my best travel story, but this is the one that I told her. I was already late for my flight, and I like went to the TSA, and I was like, okay, here's my passport, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm taking her time, tippy tappy. I'll just boop, look that up, slow as fast, I get it. Meanwhile, I'm trying to go as fast as possible to get to my flight, and she's like, oh, it looks like you're in the wrong terminal. And I'm like, oh, shit, like, I gotta go. She's like, yeah, you're gonna need to run, I think. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, you gotta, like, cross through the parkade, and then, like, it'll be pretty easy to navigate. You gotta get to this gate, you gotta go through security, and you'll make your flight if you, like, hustle. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, thank you so much. And she's like, just take the elevator down, and then, like, go across the parkade. And I was like, okay, great. So I get in the elevator, and I'm, like, kind of frazzled or disheveled. And I'm, like, fumbling. And I get in the elevator, and I, like, turn around, the door's closing, and I just, like, for some reason, like, my passport, I went to grab it, and I dropped it. And you watch it in slow-mo, dropping, and just, like, hit that tiny little crack. And I'm, like, watching it fall, and I'm like...
That's like out of a movie. How does that happen?
Just perfectly goes in the mail slot, like, shoo, you know, and I'm, like, just standing there in shock. Like, what? Like, no, like, how the hell am I going to get this back? And so I stop the door, and I'm like, okay, like, what's my course of action? So I go back to the TSA, and I'm like, yeah, so I just dropped my passport down the elevator shaft, and the lady is just like shaking her head at me, like, you know, I've already been traveling on like 2 other flights. There's like some international, and I'm just trying to get home, you know, and I'm like so tired. And she's like, okay, so she gets on the like announcement, oh yeah, can we get like security, or not security, but like the maintenance department, and down to the, and she's like, yeah, you're probably not gonna make your flight. And I was like, all right, we'll see about that. You know, just like, sounds like a challenge. And we'll see how long this takes. And so it was actually pretty simple. This guy came, took me to the bottom, and then this is actually the best part, is he like, I guess he's used to people dropping other things. And we get to the bottom, and he turns this key, and the elevator just like comes up, and you get to see what's underneath. And there's just like most random shit, like so much food and like jewelry. And I'm like, oh, they don't do this regularly, but like they could, you know? Like there's just so much like valuable stuff down there. I think there was like a flip phone. I was like, and there's my passport. For years. Yeah, totally. Just like mold on it. And there's my passport just sitting like, right there. And so I'm like, oh, that's mine. And I go to grab it, and he's like, oh, not so fast. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, I need to see your ID. And I'm like, is this guy for real? It's my passport. Like, my picture is in it.
You're like, that is my ID.
It's my ID. And so I'm like telling him that. I'm like, what? That is my ID. He's like, well, I just need to know for sure. And I'm like, my picture is in it. And so I'm like, okay, just like forget about it. I'm like, this guy obviously is used to doing that for like other things. So I grabbed my driver's license, and I'm like, it's me. And at this point, I've had to like pee this whole time. Like it's you know, getting down to the wire, and I like, no, I got to catch this flight. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be really bad. Like I need to find the relief station pretty quick. So I finally get the passport and I'm like, all right. And I just like, flip around and start sprinting. But you know what happens when you're like sprinting and you like really got to go to the bathroom? And I don't know why I was so determined to make this flight. And I got to the middle of the parkade and I was like, it's happening.
No.
Right now. And I just like dropped trow in the middle of the parkade. And there was like people around, but like, I think I was just decided to be so casual about it to like not draw attention, and I was like humiliated.
No, in the U.S., we don't really use parkade. Is that a parking lot?
Like a parking garage?
Parking garage.
Parking garage, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. Language barrier.
So you just
Bit of a
go
language
for
barrier.
it.
Yeah.
Pants down.
I just go,
Let it rip.
and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, at this point, just howling. I'm laughing so hard because I'm like, this couldn't have been more like of a wild like scenario. And I'm like, I'm definitely not making that flight, but I'm gonna try it. And so I go through security. I'm like sweating buckets, like full drips. And then I get to the gate, and they had held the plane for me.
Wow.
No way.
And the
That
whole
never happens.
And they clapped. I got on the plane, and everybody was like, "Yay!"
After going through all that.
Yeah. And I sat in my seat, and I just like. I remember, and the lady beside me was like, "Oh yeah, no, we've been waiting for a while."
And you're like, if only
So
you
sorry.
knew what I have been through.
Yeah, I was like, I just peed in a parkade and lost my passport all in about
Through
like
an
half
elevator
an hour.
shaft.
Yeah, but I did make it home, and I was like quite proud of my like effort in getting to the finish line.
That's incredible that they waited for you.
I know.
All of it. There's like so much incredible stuff in that story.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But humiliating moment for sure.
That is a great travel story.
Travel pro tips all across the board there. Urinate in the parking garage, drop the passport.
I just can't believe the
kinds of good
passport went
techniques.
through that little ass.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's
what are the
hilarious thinking
chances?
about it.
Yeah.
There was like so many. It's like a comedy show. I was
Yeah.
like, this is a comedy skit.
That's the
Yeah.
shit they write for movies.
Totally.
You just lived it.
All right, so we were just talking about those first video parts, and then eventually you got up to filming for Full Moon. What's in between that section of like your first parts to Full Moon?
First parts were with Runway, and then I filmed with. Actually, I tried to film for Standard. They actually gave me the opportunity to film, but I think it was that Robahawk year, and there weren't. I mean, I had some clips, but there weren't enough. And I did get the like, sorry, you didn't make the film, and I was like, it's cool. I like didn't care, I was like, I totally get it. And then I didn't film for Standard that year, but I released my own video part with like Roxy, and then I filmed with Peep Show, and I kind of linked up with Hannah around the same time, and we did PS webisodes together for xgames.com, and there was another site we worked with, but those were like honestly some of the funnest years of snowboarding, like. I don't know what it was. Like, we didn't really know each other at all. And Amber, my team manager at the time, was like, hey, I think you should, like, go link up with Hannah. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know her at all. And, like, she goes huge. And, like, I don't know. I'm kind of intimidated. She's like, no, I think you guys have, like, similar style. And I think you, like, get along. And instantly, it was just, like, hilarious banter, ongoing. Like, it was so much fun to hang out with her. And it was just like having an instant best friend. And we filmed together. Like, we were such a good duo, because she would really, like, push me to, like, hit bigger jumps and, like, try different tricks. And I think I was stronger at the time at, like, line riding from, like, those years I spent in Argentina doing that. And so we kind of had something to share. Like, she kind of would, I would, like, we'd do like line riding coaching, and she'd be like, okay, cool. Like, this is how you're going to hit this jump. And I would always let her go first, mostly because I was just fucking terrified. The jumps were like big, Hannah's like, she goes big. And that's kind of how I like learned how to do that. So, and she was so like confident in the way she was snowboarding, and she had so much like wisdom and knowledge in being a professional snowboarder. And that was something I didn't really have, because I felt like I was kind of like late to the game a little bit. And we just traveled around, had the time of our lives. I filmed like, we both had like really really good like snowboard rapport, and we both got lots of clips, and it was awesome. It was the first part that I was actually really proud of. So yeah, I have Hannah to thank for that.
Snowboard
Amazing.
rapport, I like that.
Yeah, great mentor on and off the board for sure. Buds,
All right. We are going to take a moment and listen to one of our sponsors talk about fits. And during the break, Chris is going to get up. He said he had to take a fit.
What up, Bombhole? I'm Estelle Pincero, and today I'm talking fit. So I've been rocking the VS Stretch 3-layer Gore-Tex jacket and the AT Stretch Gore-Tex pant. The jacket's super waterproof, super breathable, and just baggy enough. It's got these ventilations in the armpits so that if you're hiking uphill, you'd never really get hot. It's also got this sick graphic in the back of a mountain. As for my pants, they're baggy, which I love, so you can move around. They're really breathable, and they've got this cuff around the bottom. That means they always stay on your ankles, and it never really rides up, even if you're post-holing through super deep snow. My jacket and my pants both have zip tech, so I'm always zipped up, and I never get snow on my back anyways. Let's go!
all right. So after filming with Hannah, where did you take it from there?
So I think like a lot of the girls or women who were riding the backcountry at the time had been like in Absinthe, in Standard, and, you know, doing like all sorts of different projects. And really, it felt like a really good time to all come together. And Leanne kind of spearheaded that, had like us all over and was like, hey, do you think we should do something together? And it was almost like this moment where we were all so sick of like fighting for a spot and really like not wanting to be a token, you know, and really just like, how do we want this season to go? How do we want to show up? And it was a very interesting, it was like perfect timing, because I think a few of us had like, you know, hard nose and not made videos and felt like they were like the only woman, and it was like such a scratch, you know, we were like scratching to be that like token female. And really, why couldn't we just come together and do it ourselves? And that's what we did. And it was like such like I said, great timing, because everybody was like really ready. And so we did. We all came together, Leanne at the helm. We all like trusted her with this project, which she actually like knocked out of the park. It was so amazing. And we started filming. And then it was like 2015, which was the worst season I've ever had. Like, not for me personally, like weather-wise, there was no snow, like nothing, you know? And I think we had like a couple of small trips, but like at the end of the year, we were like, it's gonna have to be a 2-year. Because really, like, we can't go out like this. We can't come together finally, like Annie, Marie France, Helen, Hannah, Jamie, like the crew was so good. And we couldn't like accept that. We were like, no, not happening. So we added on another year. And that to me also like backed up with those 2 years with Hannah. That was like the most fun snowboarding. Like having this crew that was like all females, and I know it sounds like we really don't need that, but like honestly, it was just fun and funny. Like there was no pressure. It was like you didn't feel like you needed to impress anybody so you could make the movie. You didn't feel like you needed to avoid making bomb holes. You know, like you could be the first one to hit the jump. You could like lead the crew on any given day. You know, you could be like, hey, I heard it's good in this zone, and you're the one making the calls. And that felt really good. You know, it was a really big confidence booster for us to have decision-making back in our hands. And then, like, to see how it came out, and the whole vibe of the film was just, like, so fun and soulful. And really, that was very true, you know? Like, hanging out with some of your best friends, mentors, icons, like, it was just like such a special time in snowboarding, and especially that bald face trip where we got to meet all the legends. That was like so sick. Like I will like always remember that like full moon year is like one of the best years I ever had snowboarding. Like I just felt like good about myself and like good about the crew, and like it was so fun. Isn't that what it's all about? Like the intimidation factor was low, and that was like new and exciting and like really big confidence booster. And it shows in your snowboarding when you're like confident and like, this is the thing I want to hit, and I'm going to be here for a little while. And you go and you do that. Like you get clips like that.
Great stuff. And
anyway,
really good stuff. And you kind of reap some rewards for that, right?
Yeah.
At the year, you got video part of the year.
Yeah.
How was that experience too? Like winning that? That must have been just unbelievable for you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it was. I had never even been nominated before. It was just like my mind was blown, and I was so nervous. Like I just couldn't even believe I was there. And then to actually like win the thing, and Leanne got me this little, I still have it because I was just like going through like our dishes the other day. It's like a little flask that says like for emergency use only. And she gave it to me right before. And she's like, just in case. She's like, I know it might turn out really well for you, but like just in case. I was like, yeah, okay. And I had prepared like a small speech, but that moment to me is like actually kind of weird as well. Because I had like dreamt about it. Like I had pictured myself, when I'm like what do I want for myself, and like goal setting, which is like a weird thing to think about in snowboarding. But when you go to bed and you like, oh, I wish I could like stand on that stage and like have that piece of glass and like win that award or whatever it is. And then to see it actually happen, it was just like, it was overwhelming, to be honest. And I think like I'm going to take this opportunity because I was so like floored that I was like half crying, half like delivering the speech. I was like, be cool. Like, don't cry. And I completely forgot to like thank and acknowledge the other riders who were nominated. And after I was just like, no, I was like, I can't believe I did that. So I just wanted to say to Kimmy Fasani, I am such a huge fan, and I'm like so impressed with everything that you do. And Jess Camara, I think it was that year that she filmed her own video part outside of the Union movie, which was like to me so incredible of a feat, and to like see her be nominated. And I forgot to thank them, so I just wanted to say, oh, thank you.
This is the second half of your speech right now?
Yeah,
totally.
7 years later.
7 years.
Honestly, it ate me up forever. I was like, I can't believe I never did that. But it was like such a cool moment for me. I was like, whoa.
Do you feel like you kind of sounds like you're kind of trying to claw your way and, for lack of a better term, earn a seat at the table?
Yeah.
Did that feel like some validation where you maybe were like, okay, I'm here. I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, it felt like I went from a crazy person to like a sane person. I was like, oh, like this whole time I've had this like wild dream. Like it seems wild, and like really just like looking at pros and being like, I want to be that and I want to do that. And then to like be there and on stage. And I remember seeing like Kazu and like Travis and like all these people, and I, like I said, I was like half crying. I'm like, and I was just like overwhelmed. I was like, wow, I'm here. Like I've arrived. I've arrived at the end goal. Like this is it. And like it was just really, validating. It was a really impactful moment for me, for sure.
Love to hear it. With all this video part talk, buds, do you think you know what it's time for?
I think it's time for Name That Video Part.
Oh, no.
Name That Video Part is presented by our friends over at Mammoth Mountain. They got unbelievably good parks, good park jumps, great rails. They slide well. They're not sticky. Super important. If you just want to rip groomers and do turns, like aforementioned Alex Yoder, do that too, huh, buds?
Yeah, you can. Any skill level is going to have a good time there. They got something for everybody. The park staff, some of the best in the world. The mountain is huge. Riding for all types of levels and conditions and types of riding. Turns, big mountain, side hits, wall hits. We got it all at Mammoth.
A lot of different side and wall hits. No, it's also really good. I noticed about good park jumps. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to say it again. but they make you feel like a good snowboarder. Bad park jumps make you feel like you don't know what the hell you're doing out there. So Mammoth's incredible place to check out if you're looking to have some fun on your snowboard. So with that being said, we're going to get into name that video part. How's your confidence level, 0 through 10?
0.5.
0.5. Okay.
Yeah,
We've had a couple 0.5s lately.
Have we? I can't remember.
I feel like it. We've had some good times in here, though, so this should be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
The last couple were real fun, eventful.
I think you're going to get this one.
I don't know.
Here we go.
Rock right out. I ain't gonna hide you down. All on that day, I said rock.
Jonathan Moore, Future Proof. Oh.
It is. Your movie's right.
Okay.
It's the first part in Future Proof.
You got
Future Proof. Future Proof. Oh, we're going to give you half the
Give me
bag.
a minute here.
The fact
I'm
is
thinking.
you got the movie's huge. I mean, there's a lot of movies
It's
out
definitely
there.
Future Proof. Yeah.
That's confirmed.
Is it Nicholas Mueller?
No, but he's
In
of
it.
similar stature of.
Oh, I'll just go through the roster. Is it Gigi?
Yes.
Oh.
You got it.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, no, you guys really teed that one
You
up
got
for
the
me.
movie, though. You got the movie right out the gate.
Yeah, Future Proof is one of my favorites.
You got a
Wow.
Yeti. I believe they're called carryalls.
Carryalls, I think.
Filled with bomb hole merch in there, and all kinds of items. I threw a couple extra hats in there if Sweeten or anybody else needs them. But
Oh yeah, he loves the swag.
yeah,
He loves it. He'll be very jelly.
yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
don't give him.
Yeah, don't
I
give him
also
any.
love
Keep
the
him
shred.
jelly.
You know, he actually
Yeah.
teed up. I said, I don't. Did he tell you?
Ooh, nice.
Did he tell you Future Proof?
Who?
I was wondering if you guys did an insider trading because I asked
Pillow
him.
talk?
No, but it's funny because I watched Future Proof literally the other day.
Wow.
And I was talking to him about that movie. And I'm like, you called Austin. Because I was like, oh man, Future Proof, so good. I know, like, the soundtrack is good. Like, like that whole Jonathan Moore part is like so sick. And I was just like, and
That's
then,
why you said Jonathan Moore.
yeah. And then
Future
because
Proof.
I had actually like mentioned it a few times in the past that like the part with DCP and Nicholas in Japan, that whole part, and Megan, that is my favorite snowboard part of all time. Like the music, the artistry, like the way it's composed, it's just like beautiful. Like to me, that was like, again, a really important time for me. Can I put this?
You can put it down. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Can I put this down?
Nope.
Is it
you gotta
okay?
hold that for the next
I
hour.
also really like this Beavis and Butthead note.
Yeah.
Love Beavis and Butthead. Had that CD growing up. Yeah, I love that snowboard part so much. I really miss Absinthe, like a lot. Yeah.
I went back and was watching it for Name That Video part, and like the 16 millimeter footage of Gigi and everybody just bouncing around on all those pillows is just so good. Dude, also in that part, sorry to derail, it's the right at that part of the song is where Gigi rides that huge line and it rips
does the
out.
giant bomb hole.
He overshoots the whole
Yeah,
face.
Totally.
Like 200 feet or something.
Yeah, it's crazy that he was fine.
Yeah.
You know, the next shot is him like, oh, well. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how did you walk away from that? But yeah, I feel like Absinthe had so many like really cool eras. You know, there like another favorite era of mine is like the J. Rob, Blair, and Manuel in Alaska. Like I think there was 2 years where they were like together in Alaska and they were just riding so fast. Like to me, I was like glued to the movie. Just like how do they do that? Like I want to do that. I want to go as fast as these guys, which is like totally not possible. But like good to have dreams, you know. You know, but like just the way that they rode Alaska, I don't think I'd ever seen anything like it. And it was like so rad. So yeah.
Well, we still are in Name That Video part, so we got part 2 in Name That Video part is for the listeners. When this comes out, this episode, on Instagram, there'll be a photo of Robin on our page, and that is where you submit your answer for Name That Video part. That's where we pick our winner. They get a little prize pack, and this is a legendary video part. Here we go. Okay, thank you guys for playing Name That Video part.
So Does it have to be over?
You want to guess it?
Well, I think there's part 3 of Name That Video part.
Oh, there is.
What's part 3?
Part 3 is when you get to play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sucker.
Okay.
So
You got a track
do you
for it?
guys? I have a track.
Yeah, let's go.
I have a
Yeah,
track.
you put it in the microphone. If you
It's
use
Chris's,
your phone,
this is Chris's game.
if it's
Yeah, I got
pre 1968, Buds has a chance of getting it.
First, you need to ask Chris what his confidence level is.
Oh, yeah, Chris, what is your confidence level?
Damn, it's weird being asked. I never actually have to think about that. Let's go 7.
Chris,
Okay.
are you spreading bullets? How are you feel about
Well, is he the only one playing?
this? This isn't my game.
Whoa,
I mean,
whoa.
I'll play.
can we
Imagine
compete?
I
Can
come
we
on the
compete?
podcast and I'm like, oh, this isn't my game. I'm not going to play.
I played when I was a guest. I played,
Okay, you did.
but
Okay,
I'm
okay.
down.
Did you get
it?
it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I got it. It was like Bradshaw or something.
I kept it real easy.
Okay, here we go.
Nothing yet?
I got nothing.
Okay, I'll give you some more seconds. That's all you got.
I'm a little embarrassed to say that I don't. I could take a stab.
Stab in the dark, huh?
Stab away.
Dakitas
Yeah.
in.
He's he just threw out a name. He
Well,
didn't know. He
no,
doesn't
no,
know.
It,
He
no,
doesn't know.
It like something clicked. I just
Huh?
I don't know it. It sounded like a Dakitas part to me. Okay. Okay.
Don't give many hints.
Okay.
Yeah.
No hints.
No hints. Like
Or maybe give him a small hint. I don't know. What year, maybe?
I don't know. This is kind of fun to
Let him
like watch him
squirm.
suffer a little
Let
bit.
him
Yeah.
is it a Mac dog?
It is.
Yeah, it's not stand and deliver.
It is.
It's stand and deliver.
Yeah.
All right.
Woo!
So I technically got that. I said it's not stand and
That's
deliver, but I really
technically-
was like kind of testing the water.
Yeah.
So I got that.
Yeah, you did.
I would say
That's a
it's
win.
Yeah, that's a win.
What do you got for
I
him?
threw 2 things out. I threw a
Big
Dakitas
W.
and stand and deliver.
Do you got a prize for him?
Yes, I do have a prize.
You got to get a
have
prize.
My respect.
Ah, it's one of those
I don't
kind of
have a prize.
prizes.
Not a
Yeah,
tangible
No,
one
I
you can hold.
Yeah,
it's a
but-
non-tangible prize.
Well, you
Those are
won
the
your
best
own
ones?
game.
Yeah, you won your own game.
Kind
Congrats.
of a participation award.
You won your own game.
All right. Wow. Whew, I was sweating. All right, Robin. I want to hear about your first time to Alaska.
First time to Alaska was I couldn't tell you the year, honestly. I think it was one of the years I was filming with PS. Yeah, it was the second year I was filming with PS Webisodes. And we did a little movie called Intervals with Leanne, Hannah, and myself. But I actually it's funny. Do you remember the brand The Levitation Project?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the guy, Nico,
yeah.
Nolan,
The guy.
he had called me and was like, "Hey, we really want you to ride for this brand." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like the team looks rad." You know, it was like kind of stacked. And he was like, "Yeah, so it starts out pretty slow, but like we'll build." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, like, what are we talking? Like, new partner. Is it worth it? Do I want to do it?" And they seem pretty cool, but I don't know. And he's like, "Well, we want to send you to Alaska to go snowboarding with DCP and JP Solberg." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's enough." Like, cool, I'm in. So that was like kind of the bait. And I was like, "All right, cool. This will be great." And some like good friends of mine, like Skylar Holgate and Chris Coulter, they were also on big air horn for those dudes. They were also on the Levitation Project, so I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, I'll be a part of that. It seems awesome. And then getting closer, he was like, "Oh, actually, we're bringing in Laura Hadar." And I was like, "Oh, awesome!" Like, I had known her and filmed with her a little bit beforehand, but I had never been to Alaska. I don't know if she had either. She was filming for Nike. And he said, "Well, you can bring your own filmer too." And we had Ben Bishop, this guy who was filming PS. And so we went up there and there was no DCP or JP Solberg in sight. They were and I was like, oh, okay. But it was like I didn't really care. I just wanted to go ride Alaska. Like and my whole thing was like, doing that kind of riding, you kind of have to start somewhere and you just got to start doing it. So I was like, it's going to cost me a bit of money. But I'm good at saving, and I like worked at a bar and I had saved a bunch of money, and I was like, I got a little bit, and so I kind of was like ready to roll the dice. I was like, if this is the kind of riding that like I truly want to do, you just got to start doing it. So I ended up there with Laura, little bit of money, and we were at one of the heli ops up there, and we sat for 2 weeks. And we didn't go out on like sunny days, and we would go to the airport and we would just sit on the tarmac and watch people come out of the backcountry and be like, oh my God, the day was so awesome. And we're just sitting there like, okay. And it's like painful, cause it's like, you can see it all right from the heliport, and you're just sitting there with your backpack. Like, I'm ready every day that it was sunny. And we just weren't getting out. And there's just always like heli drama. There's like, I think to get like you got to throw down basically to be able to hang up there and get the heli time that you feel like you need. And we just weren't getting that. And so we ended up, her and I were like, all right, we gotta do something. So we actually drove to 33 Mile and to AK Heli, just the two of us, like no experience whatsoever. And we like went to Sean Dog and we were like, hey man, like we're in town at this other heli op and we've been here for 2 weeks and it's been sunny and we really need to get out. This is our first time here. Like this is what we got as we like pull our change out on the table and we're like, okay, 1, 2. And so we kind of just like laid it all out there. And I think he kind of like the great thing about Sean Dog is he's kind of like, he's a bro, like he's a good person and he like is invested in snowboarding and he's been a really big part of snowboard history. And I think he like saw the like want and the drive in us and he was just like, all right, I think we can work something out. And so we waited a little longer, but then he got us out. And it was like our first time in Alaska. And of course you think you're going to get like a bunch of shots. I got 1. I got 2. I got 2. And like we weren't like killing it really because it's like a different way of riding and it's quite intimidating. But we just had such a good time. And there was a lot of like, at the time you feel like you failed. You're like, I didn't get that like 10 shots I thought I was going to get. Because you like, watch Absinthe and you're like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. You do like this many runs. But like it's different when you go for the first time. And I think we went with a few expectations, which is like always good to go to Alaska with like lowered expectations. But we did get out and it was awesome. And it was like our first stab at that. And I just fell in love with that style of snowboarding. And I felt like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to like really work on line riding and to like be able to use these like skills that I had acquired through guiding and like apply them. Cause that's really like, that was the whole goal the whole time was like, let's get enough skills so that you feel like you can go ride that kind of stuff, And so with my like knowledge and skills in my backpack, I'm like how cheesy that sounds now. I started going and started like linking it together and like, you just got to like anything, it takes reps, you just got to go and like keep going and like go and fall and like screw it up and get sloughed out and like tomahawk down the mountain and like do all the things. And then, so the next year, basically when I left, I had a little bit of travel budget and I put it towards the next year. I went back and I brought Helen Scatini and Marie France with me. And we were that was the first year of full moon. And I think that was one of the only trips that year that was like okay conditions. And it was awesome. Like just going up and like having that first year under your belt, you're like, okay, I know what to expect. I know that I'm going to have to like pay a lot And I might not get as many runs, but it was just like, it kind of just came together. Like, of course, you're still not like getting that 10-part, section that you thought you were going to get. But it was every year I went back, it was like better and better. I was like figuring it out, and like knowing where to go, how to deal with guides and pilots and dealing with heli drama and like, the politics of that. It's actually quite political, which you wouldn't think about, but it is. And it was just great. I don't know what else I can say about that, but it's more like every year that I go, it got better to a certain point. And then we went back with full moon the next year, the whole team. So minus one or two. And that actually is, again, one of the like most memorable days of my entire career was having the whole full moon crew together in Birthday Bowl, perfect conditions. We basically had been sitting for quite some time. And Leanne and I like went in there with our hands on our hips, just like, we got to make this happen. And it was like, we kind of like cornered them and we were like, what do we got to do? So like, we have a couple days left. Our whole crew's here. We've invested a lot of time and energy. Like, what can we do? And again, it was like that Sean Dog moment where he's like, I think we can work something out, And our guide really went to bat for us with all the other guides. Because you're competing against like the Absinthe and the ski crews and the MSPs. And like, there's just like a lot of different crews and they all want to ride the same thing. And in that moment, they just like gave us priority because we had been fairly patient. And we had this like, just kind of an iconic day. It was just, we basically made the end of the movie. Like, that was when the film was like done. We were like, this is it. We did it, And that was like Elena's first time to Alaska and Jamie's first time to Alaska. And I don't know, just, it was really sick. There was like, I remember hitting this like cliff in the middle of Birthday Bowl and like, every single one of our team was sitting at the bottom. And it was like the end of this 2-year project. And we just all had like completed a line in Alaska in this bowl and like getting to the bottom and like the energy in that moment was like something I will never forget. It was like, it was just so incredible. Like high fives, hugs. It was just like, yes, like that moment, everybody's just so stoked for you and like so stoked to be there. And it was just like a good, like feeding off each other, having a really, really good time at the same time as like really progressing for us in the mountains, which was like really, really cool. And I've been back a bunch of times and it's never quite been the same. Yeah.
What's the heli drama? Just trying to get up and get
different crews.
your time and...
Yeah,
that was the main drama.
Well,
whenever I was there with Absinthe, and it just seemed so easy because he's been there so many times.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yeah, we're going up, sweet.
Justin's got the golden ticket for sure.
Yeah, because he was like one of the earlier guys to be there, huh? So he had it all dialed.
Yeah, and they knew exactly where they wanted to go always,
Yeah.
and like when they were going to do it, what the light was doing, and when.
Yeah, he was like the first crew there. So he knows the light and owns Birthday Bowl pretty much.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does pretty much. I think we basically got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I forget what I was going there. Something about
Heli drama.
Heli drama. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of crews and there's like the classics, like, and sometimes the heli drama like increases when the wind picks up. Or like when the sun gets stronger and you start to lose aspects. So, we lost our south facing or like our southeast facing. Or, now we got southwest facing. Like, and when the terrain like kind of gets smaller and smaller, the drama is like increased, because everybody's trying to like get that last chance to their video part or whatever it is, last bit of the movie. And so it's like tensions are high, and there's also like drama within the operations because sometimes they don't always work together nicely.
We've talked to a lot of people about Alaska, and that was brilliant. That was really cool to hear about the different crews wanting to go to these limited areas. I was captivated by that.
Yeah,
stuff.
everybody wants to go to the same spot, huh? So you got to fight for it.
Yeah, but like I also feel like now Alaska's been on this like crazy pedestal for so long, but like really there's terrain that's similar. It's not Alaska, but it's been like this like holy grail, and we're all like, oh my god, Alaska. But like there's other places where you can get just as rad and like, you know, have similar looking stuff like in British Columbia. Like to me, I don't want to say my like the like allure of Alaska for me. It's not gone, but I do feel like I want to get creative with it, you know, like and maybe try some new spots. Like when we did depth at Galena, like some of those faces were like Alaska, and it felt the same. There's some faces in Alaska that are just not the same, you know, and that's great. But I also think like we hold it like so high up on this pedestal when like you can get rad anywhere, you know. It doesn't have to be a part of your video part. And like for me, I would like to explore other places. I guess I'm not hating on Alaska. I friggin' love it there so much, and it's been really good to me. But I do want to try to like go to some other spots where there's not as much drama and there's less people. And it's like it's gotten really, really expensive, and to me, it's like inaccessible, you know, for a lot of people. So it feels like maybe we could try something else.
So the prices have gone up, huh? Like inflation's real in the heli game.
Insane. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I like I said, I feel like there's other places. And even in Whistler, like if you go deep in Whistler, there's like beautiful mountains back there that you can, you know.
Snowmobile.
I like
3 hours.
I like
too.
the chicken coop.
4 hours.
I like the chicken coop personally.
The chicken coop.
Yeah.
Where the roosters go play. Mikey's
the zone that you went to with them.
It's like the name, really. Yeah. All right, you mentioned depth perception. Let's get into a guest question about that from Sweeten.
Oh,
your partner. Here we go.
Good morning, Bombhole. Long-time listener, first-time caller, and I have a guest question for your very special guest, Robin. Robin, it's Austin, your biggest fan, and I just want to ask you about depth perception. What was it like filming with Travis, Brian, and I? What was your process? Were there any challenges that you had to overcome? I know I got to witness some of the greatest riding that I've ever seen during that whole process for filming for that movie, and you have a really inspiring story about how you ended up on some of the gnarliest lines with Travis and kind of were the MVP of the film. That's my question. Can't wait to hear the episode. Huge fan. Love what you guys are doing. All right. Bye.
He is definitely my biggest fan.
Yes. That's really nice to have someone like that in your corner.
Totally. Yeah. MVP of the film is a bit of a stretch.
I love that.
I'm like, okay. Yeah, that experience. Thank you, Austin, for asking a question. And I love you. Sorry, I just went full cheese on you.
Yeah, right on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so that experience for me was really cool in a couple different ways, but I think the biggest one is learning to ride like myself instead of trying to be something else. And that was another like, you know, turning point for me in my snowboarding. Because I think when you grow up like idolizing people and like, I want to ride like that person, I want to ride like that person, and you like keep doing that, you kind of forget to like that you need to be yourself also and ride like yourself, because that's what I guess people are looking for in you, right? Because maybe they like what you do. Anyway, when we started on that movie, I struggled quite a bit at first because I was really intimidated. Like, I really didn't know Travis that well, and like he just came off, you know, like The Art of Flight, and that's it, that's all. And like he was like this huge personality, and like I guess I had a bit of imposter syndrome. Like I didn't really feel like I deserved to be there, or like should have been there. And it was right after full moon. So I guess I had like that year was great for me. And it was like a really like natural step to like go back and film with some guys, because I really hadn't done that very much. And it was kind of like my first stab at like that tier of snowboarding. And when I first went, I was like, all right, like watching Travis go and hit stuff and like watching Brian and Austin. And I was trying to rise to their level, which like I was not prepared for, because that level is just like, it's on another planet. Like we can all agree that there's some like alienness there. And I was basically trying to go to outer space, and I wasn't getting shots. Yeah. And it was like, imagine finally having that opportunity to like be that female in a Travis Rice movie. And like, I think there was a bit of pressure there as just like a woman, and I felt like I was like, okay, I really need to like do the best I could do. I need to like rise to that level. I need to show like that women can do it too, but after falling a lot, I was in like a really kind of a spiral, like a pretty heavy spiral. And Austin actually kind of saved the day on that one, because he sat me down, and we had like just started dating too. But I think that's like, it was a really good moment for us as well, because he really could like shoot me straight and be like, people don't watch you to watch you be like Travis. They watch you to watch like Robin Van Gien ride. Like, you realize that, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like, I feel like I need to like go bigger. And he's just like, no, I think you need to like ride like you, not ride like Travis, like, or ride like me, or ride like Brian. Like, you need to like go back and like refocus and like, recognize that people want to see you ride the way that you do it. And I was it was weird, because it was just like like aha moment. And from that moment on, it was like a totally different experience. I like went out and like started, it was almost like a refocus. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to like do something easy and like make it look good. Like, don't, like if they're riding this like crazy line, like maybe ride something smaller over here. Like, don't step to that. Like, go ride something over here. So I like went over there and would like do that. And then that started to like hit. I was like, okay, I'm finally landing. I'm building confidence, which is like a big one. I was like really feeling not confident, and like I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be representing anybody, anything. Like, so in that moment when I started to like, okay, just like go back to the drawing board, start going small, and like make it look good. And then like it kind of like built through the sessions. Like every time we go out, I do like something a bit bigger, and like, what are my strengths? What am I good at? And like, maybe don't try and be the most freestyly, because you're not going to do a 1080 on this jump. You're not even going to hit this jump, and that was like really great, because I actually got to like learn a little bit about myself. Like what was I good at, and what did I feel confident on? And everybody on the crew was really supportive. I didn't think it was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be like me tagging along, and it wasn't that. And I like very clearly remember like Travis being like, hey, let's you and I go out and go like scope lines. And I was like, like, you sure? And like went out, and he was like, yeah, like what looks good to you? And I was like, this face right here. I think this will be like and he's like, yeah, I agree. This will be great. So like bring the crew out. But he really gave me a voice to like, again, with that decision-making power. And like when you have that, and you like are like, okay, yeah, this seems like something I can do. And then you're on top of it, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can definitely do this. And you're riding with confidence instead of riding with intimidation or being scared. The confidence was everything. And I feel like that was the game changer, is really not going out and trying to snowboard like the other crew members, but really snowboarding like myself and having that decision-making power to choose things that I wanted to ride. And then in the end, on that not the very last day, but close to the end, we ended up on this like super fluted complex face. And I remember staring at it and being like, yep, I can ride that, you know. And half of the crew, like Austin and Brian, were like, no, we're not going to do it. And because there was a lot of avalanches coming down, it was warming up for sure, but it was pretty early in the morning. And I felt like all of those like skills I had acquired through guiding were like being used, you know. I was like looking at the conditions, and like I did my research that morning, you know, and we were working with guides, and, you know, they had said like, oh, we're good, you guys can go. And in that moment, like, I think the old me would have been like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't go too. But I was like, no, I feel like the hairs are saying like, go. You know, like the hairs in the back of your neck, or the ones on your head. I don't know. They kind of were just like, yeah, this is like, it's good. Like, and then I talked through it with the guide and Travis, and we like spoke about the problems and what to look out for, and it was great. It was like a really like cool moment where all of that like training I had done at Baldface and in Argentina, it just like, it helped me so much to just be able to like understand the problem, understand like what like the guides and what their concerns were, and to just be able to manage it on like a really collaborative level. It was like there's very few moments that has happened, and it was one of them. And I ended up like riding, it's called jazz flutes. And some of the like longest like runs I've done in British Columbia, they were like Alaska style, and definitely made my presence in that film that much better. And it was just a really cool moment. And I know that's when Travis does that like crazy natty backflip, which was really funny because I think a lot of people thought that was me. And after the movie came out, people were like, oh my God, that natty backflip. And I was like, yeah.
You didn't specifically say it wasn't you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it was kind
That's
of
the one.
It was like teed up right next to my footage.
Yeah, the editing.
Yeah, and then so sometimes
Goofy
I would be
footers.
like, it's actually like, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I did not do that. It was like crazy. But anyway, yeah, that was a big learning experience for me on that film. Just like felt like all of the things came together, learning how to ride like yourself and using everything you've learned this far to like have a magic moment. It was cool.
Kind of coming into your own.
Yeah.
A lot of good takeaways from that, definitely. And then again, you were rewarded for Video Part of the Year again. Also want to just say that video's awesome and you did a great job. But I kind of have a question in regards to kind of being, so you've been the only female in a crew of dudes, and you've been in a video with all females, and there's kind of all these different video projects. So what direction do you think, like as an industry, we should be going with videos? Should it be, but what's your thoughts on all that?
It's really up to the riders.
Yeah.
You know, and like how they feel. I think anywhere where you can be comfortable, that's the best place to be. Comfortable, having fun, confident. I think when you're like incredibly intimidated, you know, it doesn't always work out that well. In my experience, that's not everybody's experience. There's also a level of like, sometimes you can rise to somebody else's level, you know, and like it pushes you. Like I was kind of saying with Hana and like huge jumps. It's like, yeah, sometimes that's really good to be like pushed and be riding with people who are much better than you. But I don't think there's any like, we should be doing that, we should be doing this. It's all about like finding a good crew and like going out and like being the best you can, you know? And I don't think like having an all women's film is like bad or like passe. And I don't think being the only woman is like bad or passe. It's just like who you feel comfortable with. Like if you have a really supportive like crew of people who are, you know, across all genders, like awesome. You nailed it. Like you feel good and confident and you have some decision-making power. That's where you want to be.
Great stuff. In the I actually almost want to rewind because I almost think back. It seems like we're getting to be in a much better place from my perspective, and I'd love to hear yours. But I think about like back in the day with videos, it was like this brand is buying in these 3 riders, and it was like just the sponsor buy-in, and maybe one of those 3 riders is a female, and maybe the rest of the crew is just kind of like, oh, we gotta take this person out, even though we don't really want to. But it seems nowadays, what I'm seeing with the younger, the like changing of the guard, so to speak, is they want it. They have, everybody's got each other's back. It's not this like weird thing like we can't go out with her because she's a female and she's not going to go as big. I don't think that's as much of a thing anymore. Am I wrong with that?
No, I don't think you're wrong. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because like I feel like I've been in a few different eras in snowboarding. Not to date myself or anything. I'm turning 40 on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rare that you would just out your age like that too. That's
air horn 40 level
you are
4.
comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
That's great.
I
Now-
would've said 21 for the contracts, but that's just me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
That's kind of the move, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
look
unavoidable.
at Chris over here. He's 22 years old.
I just turned 19, actually.
19.
And if I could get a 4-year contract, that would be ideal.
He's got the whole, so many years ahead of him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the child. You're like the 22-year-old child. We're all just a bunch of kids. Yeah. No, I feel great. And I'm stoked. Anyway, we're digressing from this question.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go back there.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Something about video parts and crews.
Maybe tokenism a little bit.
Tokenism. Yeah. And like having the token girl or being on all dudes crews or all women's crews. I think that what's great about where snowboarding's at right now, and I think the way that we are starting to think about it, which I think is great, is we're snowboarders. And it's not, women's snowboarding or men's snowboarding, because that to me is very limiting. And right now, like current times, we're gender fluid in a lot of sports. And I think people really still talk about like women's snowboarding versus men's snowboarding. And you're like, yeah, what if you don't fit into those 2 buckets? Like, can we start to talk about that? How about we just are a bunch of like snowboarders? And I think like crews are forming with like whoever's there, whoever they're stoked on, and who's like together and having fun. Like, it's great like that. And I love that snowboarding is headed in that direction. I think we're doing way better than we have in the past in terms of like, you can't go here, you can go here. We don't want you on the crew. Like, oh, we got a token here, a token there. I don't think we're all the way there, but I think we're getting places. Yeah. And I'm like really loving snowboarding right now and feeling that like a lot of steps are being taken, and the thing with that is it doesn't happen overnight. These things take time to adjust our perspectives and the way we think about each other, and it's just not immediate. But I think the thing that is what really resonates with me and what I'm noticing is that we're becoming better people. We're nicer to each other. We care about each other. Like, just even seeing more people like getting avalanche training. We care about each other. We care about not dying. We care about like, we want you to come home, and we care about your feelings. Like if there's like slurs made, or, oh, this group is completely underrepresented. Well, let's do something about it. And it's not perfect. And it never really will be, but at least we're making an effort. And I think that's good. And I don't know if
That was great.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like exactly it, but because I think that we do have a long ways to go. But I really want to stop thinking about snowboarding as like men's and women's and it just being snowboarding.
Yeah.
I like that.
We're all just humans.
Yeah.
Just humans out there trying to shred.
That's a quote from TGR. I love it. Like talking about leveling the playing field. And it's like, you mentioned your quote was, viewing yourself as a human and not a female is a great way to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's okay to be Like if you are a woman and you're like ultra feminine, that's fine. You know, and if you're a man and you're ultra feminine, that is fine. Like as long as we can see what the options are, like there's options now of how you want to be. And the fact that that's like actually just even being talked about is incredible. You know, it's great. And I think I worked on a documentary piece for the last 2 years, came out in the spring, and I learned so much about, you know, and I'm like very, like I don't know a lot, but I learned a lot about it, a bit about it, I'll say that, about like, you know, Skate Like a Girl and their trans community and how that operates and like in sport, how we should approach it, and like everybody has a different perspective and like how to navigate that. And there were moments where like I screwed up and said like, hey, it was nice like hanging with you ladies, you know, and I'm just like walking away like, oh my God, like just so humiliated. But then having, you know, somebody correct me and, you know, like I love that support, not getting angry, but just like correcting me. And I was like, yes, I want that, you know, like I want to do better. And I feel like as a whole, we can do better and we're getting there. I don't know if that rambles a little bit.
No, it's great. That was.
Yeah. I'm like really trying hard not to get canceled here.
No, you're doing great.
No,
I think they're important subjects to talk about, and you're talking about them very gracefully. And they're like I said, they're important.
You're all trying hard not to.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, oh God, because it can be really, you know, it's not. I'm not trans, and I'm not a person of color. So to talk about it, it's not, I don't want to say it's hard. It's a navigation.
Yeah.
You know, because it hasn't been my experience and I don't have that perspective. And so I guess I'm just trying to say like what I know about it is this, and I still have so much to learn. But really, I think the great thing about snowboarding is that it's for everybody and anybody can do it. Yay.
Good stuff. So I think that's good. There's also, I want to add to that though too, because Buzz and I were white dudes, and I know that's how I have experienced the world. In this,
that's our lens.
Right, that's our lens. And when you tell your experiences, I get to have empathy for your experience that's different than mine. Whether it's somebody that's trans, whatever, however you identify. Their experiences, everybody's got different experiences. And I think as long as we can approach that with empathy, then I think we're heading in a good direction.
Yeah. I think with
that's what it's all.
A bit of kindness and an open heart and open mind, like different perspectives, you know? Like if we can just accept that what you think your life is or what life should be is not for everybody, like then we're getting somewhere.
Totally.
You know?
I want to talk about your sponsor switch up, because kind of like bet on yourself and kind of took a gamble and it worked out.
This is one of those, like, I wish I read the Louis Vito manual on how to dodge questions.
Yeah, it's the media training?
Yeah, the media training. I wish I had that.
Media training.
We did talk about just leaving abruptly.
You could abruptly leave.
Put your headphones on the thing.
Yeah, I'm out of here. I don't know. Yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about that. Yeah. No, I'm prepared. So what in particular would you like to know?
Well, there's a whole. I mean, you're riding for Roxy. Yeah. Roxy makes boards and outerwear.
They do.
And you left, and you went on a journey to find a new sponsor. And
I did, yeah.
You turned down brands, and you waited until brands were in alignment. I'm telling your story. You're supposed to be telling all this stuff.
No, this is good. Please continue.
No, this is
as told by Chris.
Yeah. Why am I?
What else?
I mean, what else do you know, Chris?
I know it, but you got to hear it out of the horse's mouth.
Whoa, you're calling me a horse?
Yeah. That's media training.
She's actually just a natural, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to leave, okay?
She's inching towards the door, letting Chris tell the story.
No, I can tell you the whole story if you would like to hear it.
People probably want to know.
Yeah, like set a timer because you're going to have to be like, okay, and you're done. No, I'm just kidding. It's It was a really great and rough experience. It was good though in the end. Like I'm exactly where I want to be right now. And getting here was tricky, a bit of a navigation, and yes, a total gamble. There was a lot of moments where I wanted to cave and just like sign whatever came in front of me, and even if it wasn't like perfect. But I'm really, really glad that I held out. And I rode for Roxy for 13 years. When I was, beginning to be a part of snowboarding and like really watch snowboarding, the Roxy team was like everything I wanted to be. They were like Erin Comstock, Lexus Waite, Tora Bright, Jess Dalpiez, Amber Stackhouse.
It's a cumulative air horn.
That's a good crew right there.
Yeah, Sarah Burke. Yeah. And so they were just these like, powerful snowboarders and skiers. And they were quite like, they were just like a power women's team. And I was like really attracted to that. And I really like idolized that whole program. And Roxy was one of my first sponsors. They were the first people to give me outerwear. I actually left the Flow program for 2 years and rode for Tech 9 and Section. Woo! Yeah. Well, yep, I did that. And then Roberta Roger, I would like to give her a shout out if you don't mind.
Yeah, Berta's giving a
Yeah.
Well, you kind of dropped the ball when sorry to derail, but you could have kept her on Tech 9. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, could have.
Okay, Berta.
I wasn't like officially on. I was just getting flow from the local team,
Who was giving you flow?
I don't know, some guy out of, I forget his name.
Calgary?
It was out of Alberta.
Was it Jason Flynn?
It was Jason
Nice.
Flynn. Yeah, it was Jason Flynn.
Let's give Flynn an air horn.
Flynn was so good to me.
Flynn knew what he was doing. Huh? He's had his eye on the pulse of snowboarding.
Yeah, and then I met with like Trent and Troy Bush.
Oh, you met with Trent and Troy?
Well, I went to SIA
with
a Sponsor Me DVD.
Nice.
And I was currently getting flow from Roxy. And I like went around to the booths. And instead of like handing out a CD, I actually would open my laptop and be like, please sit. And I would like, I would sit with them and like put the CD in, and like I had it queued up also, so I wasn't exactly like, it was ready to go. I made sure I was like prepared, and I would like, pull it up, hit play, and like let them watch my Sponsor Me tape, and then close the computer, and then be like, I think I would be a great
Very
asset to your
experience.
Yeah, like a traditional job interview is kind of weird, but I didn't know better. That I just wanted to like be a part of it, and like, how do I do that? And like, I'd only been to like traditional job interviews, so that's how I did it. I just went to SIA knocking on doors, and Trent and Troy Bush were like, "You can be on Section," and I was
They're
like,
so nice. What nice people they are.
Yeah, it was cool, but that didn't last that long because the company.
Yeah, you
died.
caught us at a bad time,
So
I guess.
you were at Berta. You were talking about Roberta.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry.
Good derail though.
Sidebar.
The sidebar was good.
Good sidebar.
It was a good sidebar.
Yeah. So Roberta gave me a phone call, and she wasn't my agent. And she was like, hey, Roxy's looking for a Canadian snowboarder, and I think you'd be a really good fit. I think you should talk to them. And like, I wasn't a part of her program. She just like saw me as a good fit and just like hooked us up. It was like such an amazing hookup. And yeah, did that for me. It was really great. So
She didn't even ask for some commission?
Nothing.
Just out of the kindness. What a great human.
Yep. What a great human. And I ended up signing with Roxy, and I went on my first trip with them to Europe somewhere, and the rest is history. I rode for them for 13 years, and they offered me like incredible opportunity. Like, again, one of those like brands, I would not be here today without them. Yeah, they really supported me in a lot of really amazing ways and funded a lot of filming and kind of
Burn some budge.
Yeah, they really supported me. They gave me ads, they, helped me do like editorial stuff with Transworld. Like Amber Stackhouse was like in my corner and like vouching for me at every turn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great. She was amazing. The whole team is amazing, and lifelong friends out of the people I worked with at Roxy. Like Tora and I are still close. I still talk. Amber's my team manager at POC now. Yeah, and I'm following like Erin in her like amazing fitness journey, and Alexis is like a real estate agent in Montana, killing it. So it's cool. Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, this was good. And just Alpia's, I still get to see her every once in a while. She
Nice.
comes to premieres with her kids and with Brian Craig Hill, and it's nice. It's nice to have that like history. Yeah. And anyway, they were great. And I think at some point Roxy and I kind of grew apart, I would like to say. I think some of the decisions that were being made there and the marketing and stuff, I didn't feel like I was fully aligned. And even though they still supported me through everything, like I really felt like something was missing. Like I was just, when things just feel good and they're going great, and then things were like kind of just going like sideways a little bit. And we had our differences for sure, but we also had a lot of really amazing times together. And I just want to like thank them for everything they did for me. But I shouldn't say but so quickly. Everything they did for me. And yeah, we just grew apart. And I think some of the ways that I wanted to be represented and the way that I wanted to be a snowboarder, it didn't really jive anymore. And I felt a little bit detached from snowboard culture, and I really wanted to be back in it. And when COVID hit, there was some changes that came in the company, and I took that opportunity to kind of just gamble and be like, this is a good moment for me to just recalibrate. And I had been going in this like line riding, guiding path, and really like what Roxy is, it's not really that, So I was kind of like, oh, well, how do I keep being a part of this, but I'm over here? And that was more the disconnect, right? Like for me, that was the disconnect, is I just wasn't really, I was going in a different direction. And I think they recognized that too. And so it was amicable breakup. But it was really scary too. I had been with them for so long, and I felt like it was part of my identity. But I think I just wanted a new identity, And I wanted to feel, I felt myself feeling salty about snowboarding. I was like, and Austin would point it out to me to be like, yeah, like Robin, it's like not that bad. And I felt that like saltiness like growing, and that's the last thing I wanted. I never wanted to be salty. I wanted to be like a happy 80-year-old snowboarder. And so feeling that disconnect, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go and like find and not be salty. I can't be that. So yeah, I left the company, and which was scary. And I just was sponsorless for that whole year, and that was 2 years ago. And that was like the natural selection year, and the year I was my second year working on fabric. And it was a lot. And to say that I didn't feel pressure is like not true at all. I felt like I needed to rise. I was like, this is the moment where I need to like really get the fire lit. And I was like so hyper focused on natural selection and like having good clips and like being respected. I was like, okay, I gotta do this. I gotta like prove that I can still hang. And yeah, I definitely had a few people offer me contracts, and I just like, some of them felt good, some of them didn't. But my like dream sponsor was Arc'teryx, and actually Jones. So, and actually I had a conversation with Jones. I had wrote them like my hilarious job interview email. Like, I think I would be a great asset to your team, like I don't know how else to do it, I'm learning slowly, but it's like kind of embarrassing, and they were like, no, we're good. And I was like, damn it. Okay.
That's what they said?
Well, it wasn't like, nah, we're good. It was just like, we're not ready to bring on, bring on more riders at this time. And I was like, okay, cool. And so that whole year I was getting float boards and outerwear, but really feeling like kind of naked. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? But really, I decided to kind of like block that out during the winter and just focus on snowboarding. I was like, the best way to like get this done the right way is to just focus on snowboarding. So I like kind of went to work and did that. And it really worked out for me. It was incredibly stressful, like I talked about before. And I was just like hustling and doing everything and like, yes, yes, yes. Keep going. Keep your head down. Like, just keep going. You know, it was like a lot of pressure that I put on myself. No brands, just me putting that on myself. And then at like the 11th hour, I got a phone call from Greg Weaver at Jones and Justin Sweeney at Arc'teryx, and it all just like, and then Amber Stackhouse, it all just kind of
meshed,
kind of came together. Yeah. And I spent that whole year, and I'd like, you know, spent my own savings on, I was like, you know, if I really want to keep doing this, like, I'm not going to stop because I'm not getting paid, because this is what I love. I don't care if I'm getting paid. I want to like be the best snowboarder I can be. I want to be a lifelong snowboarder. This is what I want. And here's my savings account. Here's my savings account. Yeah. And I just like went for it. And it really worked out. And it like really speaks to, sometimes you just like there's like an inner, it sounds so like cheesy, but like there's like an inner compass that's like guiding you. And like sometimes you just know, you know, and like, what do you want and how do you want to show up, you know, and like being honest and like truthful about that. And then like setting that end goal, like kind of going like, well, this is what I want to look like from a sponsorship standpoint. Like this would be the dream. And then like, you know, chip away. You can't like manifest without doing the work. And I think that's like, everybody's like, oh, just manifest it. I'm like, yeah, but you got to get to work. You know, you got to have like that vision. But you can't just have the vision. You got to actually like go get it, you know? So that kind of happened. And now I'm like in that same spot where you know, all the moons kind of came together, and like, I'm so grateful for all the brands who support me. And it's just been an incredible ride. And I feel so lucky and like supported. They're so good to me. And I'm like meeting new people and having new opportunities for learning, you know, getting out in the mountains in different ways. And like, it's just been great. I feel like snowboarding's just been in like the whole evolution of it for me has been like one gigantic learning experience. And I'm still every day just like learning something new. It's great.
You feel more aligned with these brands?
Absolutely. I feel like this is exactly where I want to be and where I need to be.
I think so too. I'm so glad. That's a Cinderella story.
Yeah, it really is a Cinderella story.
Cinderella story.
She invested in herself.
Yeah.
And
what you said
it pans out.
Was really important. I love the manifestation with action too. It's like the same thing.
You got to have the action.
Same thing with like reading too, right? It's like you could read every book. Like knowledge. Knowledge is useless without action.
Yeah.
Like manifestation's useless without action.
Hey, that's the key part people forget.
Important thing to highlight.
Yeah, there's this yuppie culture where they're just like, yeah, just like manifest it. And you're like, no, not really. Like have a vision and work at it. I like to say that more than like manifest your destiny, because like it is that. You got to have that like foresight where you can see yourself, you know, like I said, like seeing yourself at the Trans World Awards with your glass.
And then it happened.
And then like work towards it. Like go get it and like lay it all out there. Like leave it all on the field, you know? Rob a hawk. Rob a hawk your way to the top.
On the field.
Rob a hawk to the top. Sounds like a great song title.
It does, to the top.
Like some metal.
Yeah.
All right. What's up, Bombhole? I'm Aaron Bittner, and this is the Burton Good Company. We took this board up to test it out at Woodward Park City, mostly park riding. This board has a great twin tip shape, really good kick on the tip and tail, camber profile, and overall felt great riding as a regular and switch. Yeah, to me this board feels like it's built for a park rider, but also wants to have a board that they can take out and ride the mountain too. So if you want to hear the full review, go to the Bombholes YouTube channel. or check out the Burton Good Company at your local shop or on burton.com.
So thinking about brand alignment, what really comes to mind, I feel like you were really aligned with the Levitation Project with their 6-armed levitating satanic Buddha. I thought that was really just,
Yeah. Yep, totally. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
The super yogi. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. I may have this air, but some of the things I say seem like, that was good. But in reality, I'm a total shit show. Always doing too much and definitely not the yogi vibe. Yeah. Trying really hard.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
You're doing great. Okay, well, we got to talk about this because you kind of breezed over natural selection.
Oh yeah.
And you won the tour. You did great in all those contests. You got all the accolades. You ripped it. But Austin was telling me that you kind of dove in with some mindset stuff to get yourself ready. He said you did some work on the mental edge. And that's what I want to peel back the layers on that and see what you did to get ready. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I did. I've been working with a sports psych, who's actually a friend of mine. And honestly, she changed the way I approach snowboarding. It's great. Basically, going into natural selection, I kind of looked at, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. Because, you just do that sometimes. Some people do. I do that. I look at, where I'm, not that strong and where I am strong. And I'm like, okay, I feel like, riding the course on a good day, I could do all right. I wouldn't totally fail or whatever. I could have a good day and it could be great. And I was like, okay, backcountry snowboarding, I'm definitely going to work on some freestyle. I'm going to work on some natty hits. So I knew what I needed to work on there. But the big gap for me was that I never competed. And I didn't know how to compete. But I was competitive. I have a competitive side to me. So I really wanted to fill in the blanks on what I really wasn't that good at, and that was competing. And knowing that a lot of those contest riders, they do work. And my friend on mental game. And my friend Chris Witwicky, who's the slopestyle coach. Yeah, shout out Chris Witwicky. Very old friend of mine, amazing snowboarder. Love Chris. He is the coach for the Canadian freestyle or snowboard slopestyles. He's the Canadian slopestyle team coach, national team. Anyway, that took me a while. And I always noticed he was talking about, mental game and oh, this person's so in their head and this person is really in it right now. And I was kind of oh, I don't really know anything about that. And I had heard from Michelle Parker, actually. Yeah, she had kind of been yeah, well, I've been working with this, our friend for quite some time, and maybe you should try it. And I was like, yeah, I'll try anything at this point, And knowing that I really had that fire going in that pivotal year, I was I really need to do everything I can to make this work. And yeah, I worked with her quite a bit on kind of harnessing that competitive side. And I learned a lot about alternate personalities, having another, the best version of yourself and creating a personality around that. And then trying to embody that person when you step into the arena, trying to be that, who is that ideal person that you want to be, or that who do you think you could be? And you're okay, yeah, who's my fiercest person, and then doing a lot of exercises to kind of get into that mindset, and then arriving at the arena as this powerful snowboarder, and leaving everything else behind. And it really worked for me. It was incredible. Yeah. And just being able to kind of step into that competitive scene with one more tool in the toolbox, that was like the edge I needed. I really needed to not be nervous and be confident and like kind of focus that fire. And that really, really helped me to do that. And I remember at the end, I like that last day in Alaska, I got back to the lodge and I just phoned her and I was like, we did it, you know, because I really felt like it was a collective effort. You know, I couldn't have done it without her. And it was a really key piece to showing up like myself again, because it's hard when you're distracted by the Mickle Bang doing like a natty back 5, like perfect right before you're about to drop in. And, you know, just being able to like honor who you are and snowboard like yourself and do the best that you can. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that like a lot of people don't realize is like competing can be quite harsh in the way that like comments and the way people like you're being judged by the public, mm-hmm. you know, and like everybody has a different opinion and really it comes down to the judging, you know, like Instagram doesn't judge you. And being able to like kind of just tune that out and like go out and just do you, you know, and like I think a lot of people don't recognize that like we're just out there doing the best we can. You know, it may not be like what you're looking for, but like that's the best I can possibly do in that moment. You know, and I did struggle with that quite a bit, especially after. You know, I like I said, that year was like woo, woo, woo. You know, like ups and downs. Like I got eliminated at Jackson, and then got that like other opportunity, and I did feel like to compete at Baldface because of COVID. You know, and that was like, you know, awkward for me because really I just want to go out there and do the best that I can and like take the opportunities that seem good. Another one of those moments where you're like, how the hell did I end up here with this brand new set of Bronco keys?
Yeah, you got a sled, a Polaris.
And a sled.
Right.
Yeah,
Polaris and a Bronco.
Yeah, like I can't believe it.
I forgot about the Bronco.
Yeah, actually, I just got it.
It took a little while.
It took a little while.
Yeah.
But it is beautiful.
They have that delivered to you.
Robahawk to the Bronchi, dude.
Broncohawk.
Look at that.
Dude.
It's a Cinderella story.
Dude.
A lot of tomahawks, Robahawks on the way to the Bronco. Yeah.
With a sled.
And a sled.
And a sled.
And I ordered it in purple.
Wow.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Straight purple?
I was like, if you're going to get like any sled that you want, like why not? You know, like if you get to pick any Polaris in this line, like why not?
I would have picked purple maybe. That's dope.
Yeah, and Austin was like, you're not going to order purple. I was like, watch me order purple.
He's all embarrassed to you out in the backcountry.
He totally was.
I don't know this person.
He totally was.
I don't know who that is in the purple sled creeping up right there.
I'm like, hey man, I don't want to look the same as everybody in that like black ninja snowmobile kit. I want to be purple.
I think that's dope.
So yeah, I have a purple sled.
Couple things. Want to run back. I want to run it back too because it's interesting thinking about coming from the video part world. So, you know, if I'm speaking on my personal experience, video parts are great because you can like procure all this footage and make it appear that you're just this phenomenal snowboarder when in actuality you might have like been a nightmare to get those clips. Like you can kind of.
You only did them once, right?
You only did them once, and so you can just put out the best version of yourself, and nobody has to see those failures. And the reality is, like, for me, when it came to contests, like when I think back on it, it's like if I don't try, then I can't fail. So I just won't do them. However, when you actually get into competing, it's very vulnerable. You know, you're putting yourself out there, and there's just this long amount of time to just let self-doubt creep in. Like I imagine that's kind of what I wanted to segue into with this is like the amount of time you have to sit there and watch Mikkel Bang do a beautiful back 5 while you're sitting out there like, am I going to go left off of this pillow? Where am I going? Am I going to go right? What line am I going to do on this finger? Can I even do this? Like the self-doubt creeping in. You have so much time to sit there and overanalyze that I just love that you created this kind of like arena person to attack the mountain. And
Yeah.
Did you battle the self-doubt as well?
Absolutely. Like it was actually, I had all these like little things I would do before I dropped in to like get all that shit out. Like I would imagine an incineration. I would imagine all those bad thoughts and I would like start a fire, which seems crazy. But like in all reality, I'm a crazy person. I'm crazy. And I'm totally okay with it.
It's a good soundbite. We should pull that.
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
I'm crazy. But yeah, I would like do this like hip movement to kind of like get grounded, and then I would like all those things, because it's weird what happens. And like something that I do is I imagine, I try to imagine myself like landing or like grabbing or doing this 360, like imagine in your head and then go do it, right? But then it's almost like self-sabotage, where you're like, these little thoughts of you like Robba Hawking come up and you're like, no. And then it comes back and you're like, incinerate, light it on fire. And so I would just like close my mind completely, and like all I would see was flames. And I was just like, flames. And then like for each stop, I actually had a different strategy, and they built on each other. And so at the end, this is going to sound like I am completely crazy.
This is one flew over the cuckoo's nest version of snowboard professionalism.
Totally. I like, when I talk through like the mental game and all that stuff, I'm making these like alternative personalities, and that was really working, and really something that I started to do. I'm not going to get to how we landed here, but creating this like flaming phoenix bird. And I would like stand at the top of my run and always go like this, and I would like feel the flames. I was like spreading my wings and like feeling which is good. Yeah, totally insane. I know.
And it works.
And it worked. Yeah, it was just like I was able to just like block out all that other like, I'm gonna fall, I'm not as good as this other person, I'm competing against Zoe. Like try competing against Zoe. Like as a 38-year-old. And we've got this like 21-year-old, like just amazing snowboarder. Like she is literally like the hottest ticket in snowboarding right now. I'm like so in awe of that woman, and having to compete against her was intimidating. Yeah. But also like I had to like find some pieces in there. I was like, why am I here? Why do I deserve to be here? How did I get here? And like kind of just build on those to like, make this headspace for myself. And that's not how I walk around in real life. I'm not like, I am a flaming phoenix.
She gets off the chairlifted banker, and she's like, ah. Like, what the fuck is going on over there?
It seems crazy, but
it worked.
What you got over Zoe, though, you got knowledge and experience, and that helps.
She's going to go on a 20-year run, though, so it's all good.
Yeah, she's got a long,
she has her time,
fruitful career ahead of her. I cannot wait to see what she does.
She's probably going to hear this and start working on her Phoenix moves.
Yeah. I'm sure she's got her own strategy. Everybody's different in the way that they like deal with the competition, and that one just so happens to be mine, and it's a bit weird. But also,
it works.
Yeah, I'm a bit crazy, and that's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah.
There's something you breezed over too, talking about like negative comments and hate and things like that. And I think that the thing that's, if you're the same as us, we're doing a podcast, we are speaking publicly, and we offer people to listen to us talking. And when you do that, we subject ourselves to be hated on. You subject yourself. If I didn't want to be hated on, we wouldn't do a podcast where people could judge and hate us. We would just keep to ourselves. And I think the same goes like with contests and things like that. Like when you do something that's public, you're just inviting people to hate. And as much as hating is what it is, snowboarders are haters, people are haters, they have their own reasons, but I think that's also comes with the territory a little bit.
Yeah. I just don't think, like you said, I come from this like film world where I can curate everything that I do. And, like when you're just live snowboarding, it's really vulnerable. Like
True.
It's like
especially live, huh?
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's no taking it back. you can't go back up there and grab your board once you've not grabbed it. You know, it sucks. And you're like at the bottom, like, oh, I should have tried this or should have tried that, but, or should have done this. And, yeah, it is part of it. And I think you're like getting to something really important. And that's something I wish I knew so much earlier in my life is like, not everybody's going to love you. And like, if you don't try, you don't get anywhere. And I wish I had tried. I wish I had like not cared what people thought about me earlier. Because there was a span of time where I like would go to the park and I wouldn't try because I felt like I was being judged, or I felt like people would see me fall and be like, she sucks, you know? And that's how I really felt. And I would hold back. And I actually, when I, like snowboarding with Austin was really good because he would always like encourage me to try. He'd be like, oh, you should try like a cab underflip. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And I would just like go try it and then like learn that trick. And it was really great because I felt like at some point I was like, okay, I'm trying less. I can kind of like ride into the sunset in this like geriatric snowboard phase of my career.
Some orthopedic snowboard boots, you're good to go.
Yeah, but really like you don't have to stop trying. And it's incredible what you can do at any age if you're just trying. And like even like last year, this year, I'm still learning new tricks and it feels really good. And I don't care. Like if I fall and tomahawk a lot, even like cumulatively, it used to be like, oh, I got 3 in a row, like 3 strikes out. That's embarrassing. But now I'm like 10 strikes out. Don't give a fuck and keep going, you know? And I just like try. And like failure is a part of success. It's just, if you're not failing, you're really not like getting anywhere. You know, we learn so much from failing and sometimes it feels shitty, but you know, it helps you like move that one step forward. And I wish that I had almost tried more in that one because I feel like I lost like a couple years of progression in my snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for real.
That's a great mantra. Just like show up, try hard.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you get a Bronco keys getting handed to you.
With a
Works
sled.
out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all worked out really well. And like it might seem like, oh yeah, there's all these like cool accomplishments. There's always ups and downs. And like I said, I had insomnia. I don't know if I talked about that, but I had insomnia for like 2 years. Like really struggled, taking sleeping pills and like not sleeping at all, and like being like so fried from not sleeping, but like somehow still like performing. It's like quite weird what the human body can do in like a personal adversity, and you're still able to show up when you really want something. You know, it's like my body didn't shut down. I just like could keep going. It's like weird things you figure out about yourself as time goes on. You're like, oh, I got this too. I can not sleep and still go out and like film and like still go out and like compete in natural selection. It's crazy. So,
Buds, what's it time for?
Sound of a beer cracking. It's pub beer time.
It's pub beer time. Pub beer 30, if you will.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
What's their mantra, Buds?
Cheap fun beer, my friend.
Welcome to the Pub Beer Crab Shoot.
All right, Pub Beer supports the show. You guys should support them. Now, it's time to roll some freaking dice. You roll those 2 things, and we will tell you. We'll ask you a question of sorts.
6.
6. She's Canadian. This one might not apply. What's the name? What was the name on your fake ID?
oh, I have no idea.
You still have to have fake IDs at some point in Canada.
Right. Oh yeah, no, we have drinking age in Canada. It's actually 19.
Do you think there's just no drinking age in Canada?
I'm gonna divert.
Can't remember.
Who's one of your favorite people to party with?
Ooh. Favorite people to party with? Well, that's pretty easy, actually. Party Pelosi and Hana Beeman. China, if you will.
China.
Wow. Great answer.
Oh, she'll probably kill me for saying that.
Well, we have a guest question from neither of those two. Well, we already did those. So, but MFR. legend in our sport.
Total legend.
Hi, Robin. I just wanted to ask you, as a fearless leader of the Chudes movement, if you would explain what it's all about. And maybe you could also go over a quick tutorial of a snake bite for our fellow Chudes out there.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Marie. She really knows how to get you. I just like blew snot all over my face. Love Marie. Big fan. Oh, always big fan girl. Yeah, the Chude movement. This is something that a friend of ours, Chandra Levesque, who I just adore. There you go, Chandra. You got a little air horn. We were so basically she came up with this name because most of our girlfriends in our like friend group, inside and outside of snowboarding, we're all kind of like, I don't want to say tomboy. We're just like, we got survival skills. You know, we can start fires. We want to go surf our brains out. We're like snowboarding, skating. You know, there's just like, we're doing all the things. And so she calls one day, she said like, I'm not a chick dude. I'm not a Chude, you know, like in response to something. And it kind of caught on. And so we became the Chudes.
I've never heard that and I love it.
I know. We've got this like ongoing joke. And actually at her bachelorette party, we had a contest of, it was called climbing the Chude chain. Who was the Chudeliest? And we were like, so over this weekend, which just so happened to be at my parents' house on this island. And so I kind of had a leg up on the Chude chain contest because, you know, I drove the boat because it belonged to my family. So I was like driving the boat, you know, and so one point for the Chude chain. And then, look, you know, we're not all ever. We're going to have to cut that for sure.
Legal purposes.
Yeah, legal purposes.
Allegedly.
But we were out on this boat cruise. We were like, yeah, okay, like naked backflips. And like, you just so happened to like do a naked backflip. I don't know. There was like some moments where you know, if you made the fire or, you know, there was quite a few different challenges, which I really don't want to publicly air on this, snake bite being one of them.
Question. You guys are pro snake bite, which we love here. Now, what about the shiwi? Are we fans of the shiwi? No, you're okay.
No, I was gifted a shiwi, and I have never used it.
Okay.
And I've been in a lot of hairy situations, small, compact little places on the mountain, and I still find a way to just remove the outerwear.
Okay.
It's just not, I mean, I could see it in mountaineering or climbing more, but like in snowboarding, you can just like make a little spot. I just don't, and it's gross. I don't want to carry around something that I've like peed on.
Yeah. Technically kind of sanitizes it, I think. I'm not a scientist, but
it's gimmicky to me.
Okay.
You think it's sanitized? It's not like spraying a lime on it or something.
It's like lime. You know, Bud's actually, while we're on the subject, Bud's once cured pink eye with a lime to the eye. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, wow.
You got to do lime several times throughout the day. It's not just one.
Homeopathic remedy.
Yeah.
Such a hippie.
In an airport, actually.
In an airport, traveling.
No way.
Yeah.
Just forgot to wash your hands and like, oh my God. It's like when you fall on a reef in Tahiti, you know, you get all cut up. They're all lime. Same thing.
Those reefs have
airports.
gnarly stuff.
Checks out.
All right, we're going to change gears here. That was a great conversation.
Was it?
It was phenomenal.
I feel very naked now. I'm like, wow, yeah, very exposed.
That's the point of the podcast.
Yeah, this is
we're in the we won.
We're in the nest. We're in the trust tree.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in the trust tree. Good.
We've done it.
Talking about, you have lived a fantasy of many peoples. That sounds weird, given the context of our previous conversation. In regards to like building a dream home on a plot of land, if you will, off the grid. A lot of people fantasize about it. They're like, I want to just live off the grid, live off the land, no power, in the middle of nowhere. You did that. Took you 5 years to build it. How is the expectation versus reality on that?
Yeah, it's all very romantic. Yeah. It was, the reality was you have to be in the right place to be able to do that. And it's a lot of management. You know, when you live like in the middle of nowhere, you're in the, like for us, we were in a rainforest and we were dealing with a cut block. We bought like this cut block because really that was all we could afford. Like, we're going to buy this shaved piece of land because it's all we have. And we didn't have money to build a home. And we were like, okay, let's just like build something off the grid. We built a container home from recycled materials. I think that felt like we really wanted to, one, build something. I just really wanted that experience and that experience with Austin. And we both wanted to learn a little bit about like that whole scene. So, yeah, and we decided to go as much recycled as we possibly could. It was fully off grid. There wasn't even a well when we first got there, even though it was supposed to come with a well, didn't. But learning like what off grid takes and the maintenance involved with that, and then the realities of like living in the middle of a forest. Like, you're living in like the animals and the plants' territory, you know, and you can't expect it to be like a home in Vancouver or Victoria or in Whistler, because you're really living in the thick of it. And they are established there. You know, we're talking like bugs and snakes and wolves, bears, cougars, you name it. That's their home, and we're there. And we're living in the pathways, you know, and it's incredible. Like, there were so many great things about it, like waking up to the silence of the forest and just hearing like birds and bugs and learning about what all those sounds are, and like hearing like bears like tromping around or in your, you know, it's really cool. But and I would like to do it again at a different time in my life. But I think both Austin and I are living a very like busy lifestyle, traveling a lot. Snowboarding still, like, you know, we still are going, and like it's full time. So, and the thing about living off grid is it's a lot more management than a regular home. You got to think about like, okay, do you have enough battery power? Is your solar getting enough power for your house? And then if you don't have power, you don't have a pump for your water, and you don't have the internet to try and figure it out how to fix it. And, there's, you know, like termites, and how do you fix that? And like water, power, wind, the wind wasn't really working. It was such an incredible learning experience for us, and the time that we spent there was so special. And we definitely learned a lot about each other and how to live with each other during that time. But the reality of living off grid is that you need time and energy to put towards it. And we didn't necessarily have that. And it seemed really romantic. And at times it was, meaning like, not like, you know, couples romantic, but like the idea of like living off grid and building something out of like garbage. It felt really good, but we weren't in any position to like manage that ongoing, is what we realized. And we realized that halfway through our build.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And we were like, do we like cut our losses and just like bail? Or do we like see it through? And we saw it through, and we lived there for 2 years after finishing. So it actually took us 3.5 years to complete. Nothing's really ever complete off grid, because you're always like upgrading. And I think the big lesson was if you're going to go off grid, you want to go big with your systems from the get-go, and not like do a small one and then build on that, because it becomes more expensive and it's more wasteful, because you're burning through inverters and burning through pumps and water. So it's better to like spend the money at the beginning, and it may seem like a really big investment, but in the long run, that's the way to do it, to like really drop in at the beginning, set yourself up for growth. And we didn't do that. So there was a lot of learning moments. There were some garden tools thrown. There was some serious moments. Our like, you know, a couple of fights in there for sure. But I feel like we made it through that, and we sold it in that same year. that COVID year. And we kind of have now are much more set up for success on a personal level. You know, we turn on the water and it just like turns on and it's warm. It's crazy. You like turn on the red one and it is warm, like instantly. It's crazy. And there's like enough water to have a shower and there's power. You can like plug in your computer. Like when you need to like do stuff, you can do it. Whereas like living off grid, you can't always do it. You have to be really patient and like dedicate a lot of time and energy. But I don't want to like push anybody who's thinking about it away from that because it is so amazing if you're able to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such a great way to live. And I feel like a lot of us are going to be forced into like some sort of like regression there in terms of, you know, everything that's happening with climate change. We're going to have to learn how to live more sustainably. And I think at the very least, we're like, okay, well, at least we know how to do that, you know? So, yeah.
Beautifully articulated experience. What's up with the new spot?
New spot is a project. Yeah, we got this awesome place right in Ucluelet, which is our summer, like that's where we live. And it's great. We're like, we got this boathouse thing, which is our next project. It's like a big steel shed, which is basically used to be like a boatways where they take all the commercial boats out of the water and they would like, you know, repaint them or, you know, fix them, do whatever. So it's got this big old winch and it's been derelict for like 16 years. And yeah, we're basically living on this property and we're going to be fixing it up over the next 20 years. And that's like not even an exaggeration.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Instead of like trying to do it all at once, we're just going to pick away at things as we have like time and money because, you know, like renovations and like upgrading, it's expensive, but you don't have to do it all at once. And I think that was a big learning experience for us with our container build is like, we kind of had to do it all at once because that was the only thing to do. But now that we are like, okay, well, the roof isn't leaking anymore, so we're good, we're dry, you know, and now we can kind of pick and choose how we move forward and at the pace we want to do that, and that's really great. Yeah.
Looks like a killer spot. I like the quarter pipe in the garage. It looks, or the big boat house, whatever you call that.
Yeah,
Just
the boat
get a little
shed.
skate setup.
Yeah, Austin wants to build a bowl in there.
Yeah, concrete or wood?
Concrete. Yeah, we go back and forth.
I think you should do concrete as well.
Yeah.
I know a couple of guys. I'm sure you do too.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're getting there. So I think it's good to get into hot takes right now.
I think it's hot take time.
All right, we do this every episode. So we're gonna start with the Michael Jordan and or GOAT, greatest of all time. To you, who is yours? We got to be clear about that. We're not arguing about because people argue about who it is. I always think it's who to the guest.
To the guest.
Both male and female. Who you got?
I'll start with the female because I feel like that's easy for me. It's Jamie Anderson. Yeah, she just like the way that she like grew up in snowboarding and watching her progress and the way that she did it, and like I really admired how she was never like chucking. She'd always do it very calculated and like built like baby steps, like built on her skills, like baby steps. And yeah, she's just the amount of winning that she's done, the style that she has. She to me is like the best to ever do it. Yeah. And now seeing her in Alaska, like she's incredible. She's got amazing snowboard talent and she's a really good person also. Yeah. Honored to call her my friend.
And for dudes?
For dudes, yeah, this one's harder because I feel like there's so many different sides to snowboarding, and I like respect people for this thing, and like I think to me there's like a tie. Are we allowed to do that?
You gotta ask Buds.
We like to get one.
You like to get one
answer. I mean, it's kind of
okay.
It's kind of a thing here, you know. So.
Yeah. So this has happened before.
Not letting you squirm out of it.
Yeah.
He's good at not letting the Louis Vito media training really.
A lot of people try to list four
They
people.
some people basically just start listing everybody they know.
Yeah, they go like through generations.
We're like, well, this
like,
and this and this.
In
It's
the
like,
90s, it was,
you know?
and they go all the way till now, and it's like we just need one clear answer here.
Oh.
Give us one.
That's it. Okay.
Male and female.
Okay, I did female. We're done.
You did good there.
We're done there. Yeah. Although, like, big shout out to Tara and Victoria.
But see, there we go.
She's doing it.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
She's doing the
I
thing.
would say, like, to me, when I'm going to think about it in terms of like snowboarding, and not necessarily. Yeah.
This is a snowboard podcast.
It's a hard one because I feel like there's some ways that I'm like yes, and some ways that I'm like, oh, maybe not. But I feel like Nicholas Mueller, his like style and grace in the way that he snowboarded was just incredible. And he's so soulful. He made it look so easy. And I always like wanted to be able to snowboard like him in any way, even if it was just like a finger. Like if I could have this finger snowboard like Nicholas Mueller, he's just like so beautiful to watch.
Very graceful on the mountain, not so graceful on the internet.
Yeah.
It was a graceful answer, though.
was.
So
just a pinky
next question.
of his style.
Most underrated. Who you got?
Oh. Underrated. For both men and female?
However,
okay.
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, I'm going to choose my own adventure. I would say that, like, I would, like, a couple of months ago, I would have said, or maybe even last year, I would have said Emma Crosby. But I love the attention that she's getting now. She, like, so deserves it. And I'm like, I love watching her snowboard. I see, like, little bits of my old self in her. And I'm like, yes. Like, that double backflip she tried and just, like, full splat. I was like, oh, I've done that. And I love that, like, hunger, and now, she's really like landing and it looks good. She's making snowboarding look really good. So I'm excited to watch her. I also think that in terms of like line riding, Taylor Godber is an incredible line rider and she's really not getting the love that she should be getting right now. So that is a hard call out to the industry right now. Go support that woman. She is so like knowledgeable and skilled in the mountains, and she's riding some gnarly stuff. Like she was stepping to stuff I was like, no, I'm good. You go. And like nailing it. I loved seeing her kind of her evolution in snowboarding. She really like wasn't very supported for a while, and she kind of went on her own track and was like, if I can't find a crew, I'm just gonna make my own crew. And she like zeroed in on this like crew in Pemberton and like committed to going out with them and has really like just become this incredible line rider. So yeah.
Love that answer. Okay. Steel or powder?
Powder.
Okay. Best style ever?
Craig Kelly.
Solid.
Good answer.
Best snowboard video ever made?
Ooh, it's subjective, right? Yeah. To me, I really liked Future Proof. Maybe I just like zeroed in on that one, but it just came to me at a time when I had to watch it over and over and over, kind of like that Creedence Clearwater tape.
That's more what it's about, I think. The video that
exactly.
that trapped you in and your eyes on snowboarding.
Fully trapped me.
You watched it a million times.
Yeah.
Until the tape didn't work.
Yeah. The music, the different kinds of snowboarding. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She knows it so well, she pretty much got named that video part, right?
Pretty much.
I really didn't, though, you guys.
It is a great video. Okay, laces or boa?
Both.
Oh, she's a hybrid. Or two pairs, or what are we talking?
No, they used to have this pair where they just had the ankle boa.
Yeah.
I loved that. So it was like laces, because I kind of like it a little bit more loose at the top, like tighter in the foot, tight around the ankle, loose at the calf. And I'm kind of a freak about my snowboard boots. I'm really picky. I have a super hard time finding a pair. And there was a pair that was like really good. I think it was a 32 boot, and it was just ankle boa. And I don't even know if they have it anymore, but that was the best.
Yeah, the hybrid is the best thing going. I think it's on a lot. I don't know if 32 has it.
They
but
do have
I
some.
think everybody
I'm
has it these days.
prototyping a boat that is she's describing.
But you heard us all talking about it lately, yeah.
But if you had to choose one or the other, I would choose laces because I want
Traditional.
different places to have different tightness. And even the double boa, it doesn't quite do it perfectly, you know? Like, I'm all about that like foot feeling. I'm all about the feet. Feet's a big one for me, so.
Okay. You go heliboarding with 3 people, anywhere in the world, just good times. Rip and pow. Again, you can take anybody in the world. Doesn't have to be your friends. You can take celebrities. I'm just saying, not because you have to, but I'm saying you have the option. Who you going? Who you taking? 3 seats. I don't even know if that's accurate, but she's a guide, so technically she could be in the guide.
Yeah, we could.
wow.
She's
Yeah,
a guide.
She
and
can
what
get an
about the
extra
jump
seat.
seat?
Yeah,
She can get an extra seat.
Fit like 4 people in.
sure. Jump seat. She's a guide and whatever. It's all fun. 4 people.
Okay. I would take JP. He's done so much for me and like given me so much opportunity that like I would take him as like a thank you. And he's always having fun. He's always having a good time snowboarding. So I take him. I think I would take my dad.
Wow, that's nice.
Take my dad. Same thing. Giving me so much opportunity. And my mom, but I don't know if my mom would love it as much. Maybe. But my dad's always been like, oh, if we could go heliing. And then I get one more person. Maybe Lizzo. She seems like a really good vibe. You know?
The rapper?
Yeah.
That would,
She's like always having a good time. And I just like, I don't know if this is like outside of snowboard realm, but like music's a big part of snowboarding.
Yeah.
I love her music. I love everything that she stands for. You know, she's just like herself. You know, she's always, she's just great.
she'd
She's
probably
a
be
great
pretty
ambassador.
Funny in the hell. She'd maybe bring the flute.
Yeah, exactly. She could like serenade us down runs if she didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet she's probably a pretty
Fun to have her in the,
Yeah, I bet she's fun to be around.
on the
Happy-
headset
happy
with the
person.
comms going. You know,
Yeah.
that sounds great. Yeah.
Not
All right.
bad.
Okay, good answer. Respect. I always love when they throw the celebs in
Yeah,
there.
just throw a wild card at us.
She's somebody I really want to meet.
Why not in a heli?
Yeah. I was just reading her like Vanity Fair interview.
She seemed interesting. Huh?
Oh man, she said she draws inspiration from like Mars Volta. She was like listening to Mars Volta in high school. I was like,
No
what?
shit.
Never would have thought about that. I'm like, oh man, she's cool. Anyway.
Worst
interesting.
trend. Worst trend.
Worst trend in snowboarding, I think, is companies basing their snowboarders' value off of Instagram data, analytics. Can't stand it. Yeah. To me, it's so much more about like what you do in your community, what you do for snowboarding, how you show up, your credibility, like street cred. Are you a good person? Are you a good snowboarder? It's not like
Street cred.
how many likes and how much engagement. Like to me, that is the worst thing in snowboarding is like, oh yeah, so this month you didn't quite hit the engagement numbers we wanted. And I'm like, that is just total bullshit. Like that's not real. Like I'm all about like the real snowboarding, like people on the ground doing it, the unpolished photos, the unpolished videos. Like I love that shit. And I don't like polished Instagram. If I could delete it, I might. I know it's a really important marketing tool.
That's a great answer.
Good answer.
Okay, last question. Have you ever hit a run through a wall smelling salt?
I have never.
All right. Let's fire it up. Oh, we got some. You got one over
I
there,
got
buds?
one.
All right.
Yeah. I've been waiting.
I can't.
All right. You basically just
Crush here.
squeeze it.
Okay.
Squeeze it and smell it.
Crush here.
You just kind of ease it up to your nose. You don't want to
Ease it
go.
up.
Ease?
It's kind of an ease it up situation.
God.
Don't go all crazy. I mean, you can. But
It'll turn red when you pop it.
Okay. Oh, woo. Wow, that's like that's not what I
good stuff.
expected.
doesn't get old.
It's
You
good
know
every
what
time.
It's kind of like those old menthol things. They looked like lip balm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just holding her nose now.
I waited for like the second sniff.
Sometimes I go 3 times. A couple light
right.
ones after.
What is it supposed to do?
I mean, don't you feel like you could run through a wall or anything right now?
Opens your capillaries
I feel
and
like
lets
I
more
need some
oxygen.
water.
It's supposed to give you a little boost of extra oxygen and wake you up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel woke.
You're woke now.
Woke up.
It makes you woke.
Makes you woke.
But yeah, the smell reminds me of those those menthol things you used to get. And you stick them up your nose when you're sick.
Yep.
They don't really have those anymore, do they?
In Japan.
Mm.
They're all over.
All right. All right, we got to talk setups. We got a lot of tech people. Listen to this, tech daddies, if you will. They love knowing about the tech, how you set up your
Gotta know
board.
about the tech.
So, what board do you ride? What are your angles? You do anything finicky when you set it up with forward lean? Walk us through your setup.
This is going to be slightly embarrassing for me because I'm not a techie person and I go all by feel. So one, I ride the Jones Stratos. Great all-around board. Like ride it in the backcountry, ride it on the resort. It's just like a super playful version of a Jones board. Because I feel like some of them are like stiffer and more for like hard charging. This one's like way more playful. So I love that board. And then I have the bindings. I'm sorry. I just smelled that thing.
You can throw it
Residual
over
whiff.
So yeah, riding the Stratos. Love that thing. The combo bindings with that are the Meteorite. Love those with Skate Tech technology. And that's something I really love.
What is it?
So it's like these bushings that go underneath the front 2 parts in the binding and the back 2 parts of the binding. And you can get a stiff bushing or a soft bushing depending on how much play you want. And I again, I'm a foot person. I really like to be able to feel my feet and like have movement there. I feel like I get performance out of my bindings is like a really important piece. So having that like Skate Tech where I can like adjust for what I'm doing, freestyle, get like the soft bushing, line riding, I have that like stiffer bushing. So I love those.
What about forward lean?
I usually put like a little bit of forward lean on my back foot, but not all the time. Yeah, usually just when like I'm going to ride the park or something. But.
What size board?
What size board? I ride like a 51 or a 52. I have the Stratos in a 52, and that I ride kind of all mountain. And then if I'm going line riding or hitting jumps or anything, I go to sometimes like a 55.
Killer.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then any wild like waxing techniques, edges, you keep them razor sharp or what?
I don't. I'm actually like, I'm learning to wax more, but I am a bit of like a junk show when it comes to like prepping boards. I've never been like super on top of it with like waxing and all that. And I don't, it's like a bit superstition-y. I don't know if that's a word. Superstitious, yeah. Where I don't like to screw with my setup. Like once it's good and I've like landed something I like on it, I'm like, oh, don't touch it.
Yeah.
And I actually use, like we're talking about stance and width and all that, I actually like once I've found my spot, I take a Jiffy marker and I trace where the bindings are so that if I
Trace hombres.
Yep, I trace.
Just trace hombres on them. Wow.
But usually...
Trace leches as well.
Trace leches.
Yeah.
19 and a half to 21 and a half.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Love
Yeah.
that. That's a solid setup right there. And then just to clarify, so how tall are you first? Because we get asked this stuff a lot. Like specifically, I'm looking for a board. How tall? I'm this tall. What should I get? So how tall are you? So they have reference for the board size.
I'm 5'3".
5'3", okay.
But I think somebody who's 5'3", I ride boards a little bit bigger than most people do. Yeah, so I
Just because of the type of riding you're doing, right?
Yeah, and I'm a bit stocky, so I'm like heavier than a typical like 5'3" woman. So yeah, I would say like I have ridden a 149 in the past in the park, but never in the backcountry. But a lot of like women my stature would, or like at least my height, would go with a 49 and like a 53, but sometimes I get up to like 55, 56, just like kind of what I like.
Because you're charging.
All
right. Love it. Well, couple last questions before we wrap this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good platform. There's a lot of people listening to this that are interested in getting in the backcountry.
Mm.
They want to get out there. They want to rip some pow turns. You're obviously a guide. What advice do you have for the backcountry goers that are just getting into it?
I would say like go get some certs. Like go find people you like going in the backcountry with. Make like a collaborative team and go together and get some skills. Yeah. And I think the other really important thing for me, I guess, to communicate would be like trusting your intuition. Intuition plays like a really, really big part in knowing on a personal level when to go, when not to go, and what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And it's not magical. It's not like a magical like yes, no button, but it definitely can help in decision making if something just doesn't feel good or you don't want to do it. I'd say like listening to that is like really, really important. Yeah.
Solid advice. All right, Robin, I think we pretty much did it. We always like to ask if you want to throw some thank yous out.
Oh, yeah. Big time. And I get to try and do this all in one fell swoop. Big thank you to Austin for being always my biggest fan. And to all my really good girlfriends, the Chudes. They know who they are. I love living life with all of you. And all of my sponsors, Arc'teryx, Yeti, always supporting me no matter what. They've been with me and like just do whatever you want. They're the best. Sierra Nevada, Yakima, Jones, POC Helmets, Amber Sackhouse at POC Helmets. Yeah. And Ford Bronco.
What?
Yeah, I ended up doing a little partnership with them, and it's been really great.
She rides for Ford Bronco.
Yeah.
Talk about a dream sponsor.
Heavy moves right there.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually was already talking to them before the national selection, and then I was like, well, I got this Bronco now. Like,
might as well ride for him.
What else? Yeah. Yeah, but they've been really great. They've been really awesome. So, yeah, I love the support. Want to thank my family. They've always been very understanding of this like wild lifestyle that I've chosen. Yeah, I have a lot of good friends and family, and much love to them and everybody who's mentored me and shared the eternal wisdom of the backcountry with me over the years. I have a lot of people to thank, and if I missed anybody, know that I think about you all the time. It was just in this moment I forgot.
Amazing. Well, I want to say thank you on behalf of snowboarding for your contribution to snowboarding and the culture, and coming and sharing everything you just did with us. I think it was important conversations, a lot of important topics, and I learned a ton. So thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Thanks for having me. What an honor. Seriously, this is great. I love the podcast. It's like contributing so much to snowboarding, and I hope you guys know how much we like love having our thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
So
and
rad.
I think, like, you know, unofficially we don't have an award, but we did crown Sage the king of banter.
Yeah.
I think she's officially the QOB.
I think it's official.
Queen of banter.
Yeah.
QOB.
Yeah,
That's a nice thing to own.
Might have to
Thank
get a
you.
certificate in the mail soon. I'll probably spell your name wrong.
Yeah.
I did that with Sage too. So, But thanks again so much for coming on the show. I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, everybody that supports us, all of our sponsors, our Patreon members. You guys kick ass. And we got another episode coming at you next Wednesday. Over and out from the bomb hole.